I don't know how we've gotten here to hump day on this week in October. It's the last full week of October, if you can imagine that. 1 week from today, we will be ringing in November already. That's the month of Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and all the other craziness. We are really in the downward slide, not into the weekend at this point, but into the end of the year, if you can imagine. And then we're right into 2024. I just don't know where all the time has gone. My name is George. It's my show. George Brauchler right here on 710 KNUS. A little bit of the weather stuff here. Yesterday was interesting. I was in and out of a building at one point where it must have rained in between because the entire planet was covered with a thin layer of rain. When I came out, didn't even hear it, didn't expect it, didn't see it. But today, warm and dry, 72 degrees. And then tomorrow, clouds increase. And there's, again, this is a chance, Billy, to bring back Lisa Hidalgo or somebody from 7 to help explain the pictograms, because there are white clouds and there are black clouds. And at the risk of being racist, unintentionally racist, I want to get to the bottom. And I mean, their pictograms are, not me. I want to get to the bottom of what they mean. Like, does a black cloud mean tornadoes ahead or death, or does a white cloud mean not that bad? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, are white clouds, nice?
Are they oppressive?
Is it snow? Exactly.
Are they
oppressive? And then dark clouds, is it frogs and plague and pestilence?
You don't know. You can't tell.
Idea. Yeah.
So we have that 72 today. Just follow me on the math here, folks, because it's time to break out long pants. Even if you're a kid that grew up in Colorado like Billy and I did. 72 degrees today. Tomorrow, we give away 12 to get to 60. We give away another 12 to Friday, 48. Give away 13 to get to 35 on Saturday. Jeez. And then we hemorrhage another 5 to get to 30 degrees on Sunday. The pictogram has a black cloud with little snowflakes following. Snow develops on Saturday, Sunday, light snow and cold. If you don't have the snow tires on, this is the best time to do it. By the way, do you do snow tires, Billy? Like, I remember doing that as a kid all the time. My dad, I've never done it as an adult.
No, I've had it a couple of times. Have not. All seasons are good, but as our friend Mark Crowley, all weather tires are best in Colorado. So that's normally what I rock if I can. The all weather, or again, all season. But it depends on the car and things like that. The problem is that you get into with snow tires, and there's kind of an issue with this, is how much tread wear you get on them during a snow season. And strangely enough, we'll just call them Big Tire. Big Tire has decided as an industry that eventually your tires expire like milk. So I don't.
The rubber after a while.
Which
it has a shelf life.
Yes, which I understand, but I've gotten into a situation twice now where my snow tires expired before the tread wore off, and I kind of sat there and went, "Why am I paying the money for them if I can't use them until I'm confused."
Yeah.
So I have not done that recently.
I haven't done it.
And I only regret it about 2 days a year.
Yeah.
About 2 days a year, like, I'm an idiot. But the rest of the time, I'm just fine. I live in my ignorance.
Trey's going to have it done this end of this week, maybe Friday for the van. And it's a handicap accessible van, so I'm willing to do just about anything for that. But other than that, I've never done it. And I think, to the snow tires thing, maybe we'll be proven wrong this winter, and you and I will be digging out all the time.
Yeah.
But most winters in Colorado, there's a couple days of dang, but the rest of it's like, oh, was there snow yesterday? Oh, that's right, there was snow. I mean, you just can't remember because it's gone so quickly.
Yeah, I tell people that that you can use and an SUV and all-wheel drive is valuable in Colorado, but if you're just driving the metro area, you need it maybe 5 days a year, maybe. And to actually get around, you probably only need it for 3. That's probably the only 3 days out of your commute. Not just the idea of you doing whatever you want, but just getting to and from the work or school, whatever it is. You probably have 3 days out of a calendar year in which that all-wheel drive is a necessity.
Listen, the SUV thing, because I've got the tree-loving RAV4. I will say, I think that everybody that has an SUV could probably get by with a van, and I love the vans, like the Toyota Sienna. What I've been told, though, is a man of my age driving around in such a van without any children in it becomes uncomfortable.
Well, it depends. There are pluses and minuses, because I've been there. I've been there with you. We've
Yeah.
just recently
That's
graduated
right.
out of the
Yeah.
van thing. I have spent years and years driving around with an empty van, which seemed kind of ridiculous to have so much space
Quote
in there.
unquote looking for your puppy.
Yes,
My
exactly.
puppy got away.
Yes, and so and you write free candy on the side of the
Yeah.
van.
Would you like ice cream while we go look for him? He loves kids.
The advantage that I found when you are driving a minivan and you are north of say 35.
Yeah.
Most police officers really don't care what you are doing in that van as far as any behavior.
You're invisible.
Yes, I have this firm belief, and there are times where I do believe that if you're driving a minivan and you speed going 40 miles an hour over the speed limit past a group of wonderful Aurora, Denver Police Department fine officers that are sitting there and watching you speed, and you are weaving down the road, and it looks like you have not one, but at least two, maybe three of the local adult entertainers leaning out the windows, sharing different views of their body parts to passing vehicles, and you seem to hold what appears to be maybe a gallon of the cheapest vodka you can get at the liquor store.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, and so it's that, and that's in the other hand. And the windows are down and the music's blaring. And you go down past the
smoke
place.
billowing.
Yep, exactly. They're going to look at you and go, "It's a minivan."
No,
I think the guy
nothing
suffered
but- yeah.
enough. Yeah,
No,
I think there's
not
not.
gonna pull 'em
How
over.
much more pain can we actually cause in this person's life? I figure this is just this must be lunchtime. This is the one time he's got 5 minutes where the kids aren't yelling at him. So it is amazing the amount of stuff you're allowed to get away with if you're driving a minivan.
Well, that makes me feel better because I'm not going
Yeah.
to upgrade any tires here as we
No.
head into this snowy Saturday and Sunday. Listen, last night had a chance to watch some sports with the little fella, and
what'd you watch?
there was great stuff on.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. One,
I was in a bar.
I
I love saying that. I'm sorry.
So there may have been sports on a TV, but you weren't
Yeah.
watching it.
No, I wasn't.
You were at a bar with
yeah.
the district attorney.
I was. Yes.
Yeah,
Mr. Yes. Mr. Kellner says hello and some other things that I can't say to you on the air.
Yeah,
No.
he was probably prepping for a major case or
Yeah.
something, as he's
It's-
wont to do
It is
with
so
the kids
nice.
at a bar.
Yeah, it was so nice to see him though, and I'm hoping he's listening this morning because we talked about it off the air. I'm hoping he caught the answer I dropped on him during our conversation.
Because it's trivia. For
Yes.
folks that don't know, Billy
Yes.
does bar trivia as a way to
Yeah.
mask some of his drug dealing.
Yes, exactly. It's a way. Got to cover it up somehow. It's that and the tattoos. And
I wish
so-
we could do
yeah.
that, the trivia thing. I just can't figure out a way
Oh,
to
no. It's-
logistically pull it off.
No.
Whereas John is taking individual dance lessons at a nearby studio. And
Yes,
so
he
it's easy
is.
for him to just walk over.
It is. I mean, you should see
Or
his,
just sit over as
his,
it is.
his shuffle ball change. It's on point today. I'm telling you, the guy, and he knows that jazz hands. I mean, the jazz. He can go jazz hands easily 5 minutes or so.
It's
and
so
that's endurance.
it's so interesting you bring that up because
Yeah.
I had seen him do a trial once where I wondered, did he just go jazz hands during the closing argument? And it turns out he did. He
Yes.
went jazz hands,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yes, I'm
The
sure
jury,
it did.
there was a little bit of an applause
Yeah.
thing, and then I can't tell if he's trying to like soft toe the tap
Yeah.
thing. I
What is
can't
it?
tell, but
Yeah.
uh,
But it was good. Yeah. So we were having a conversation, and he was asking me about the answer to one question. And during the conversation, I casually dropped the answer to a question that is coming up. I didn't tell him it was the answer,
yeah.
but if he was paying attention in the conversation, I gave
Which
him
he
the answer.
doesn't do.
That will have
Just
to
as
see.
someone who's
I'm
spoken
just
to
hoping.
him.
I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that he caught that one.
I wish
Yeah.
the trivia sounds more fun, but I'm telling you, there
Yeah,
was
what'd you
great
do?
sports on.
Where?
First off, we were rocking two things at once. On the TV, we had on the Nuggets Lakers. And by the
Oh,
way, the
yeah.
NBA did the first night right.
Yeah.
Nuggets Lakers, Suns Warriors. I mean, you're
Oh,
talking the
that's nice.
four best teams in
Yeah.
the West, and they played really back-to-back games, and it was incredible. First off, Jokic looks just amazing out there,
Jeez.
and Jamal Murray and these guys were just, I mean, there was no answer. At one point, I think the Lakers were like, we're closing they were down by 12 at one point,
Yeah.
climbed back to within, it may have been 5. And then it was like someone went to the Nuggets and said, hold on, did you guys forget you're the Nuggets? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. And then they went ahead and just pulled ahead by 15. And then they ended up
Oh.
winning by, I don't know, 11 or 12. But
Yeah, nice.
I mean, it was a decisive win. And then the Suns and the Warriors, what an incredible game
Yeah.
that was. Suns go up by a huge lead. Warriors come back in the third, take a decent lead of 5 points. And then the Suns, again, I think got together and said, wait a minute. We're the Phoenix Suns. We were 1 Nuggets away from being in the NBA championship. And they ended up beating down on the Warriors. But baseball, we had rocking on the phone because we were trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And so we were watching the NLCS, and it was Phillies, Diamondbacks, and man, Diamondbacks with this rookie phenom. He's going to be rookie of the year for the NL. They had such a great game, and they ended up winning that thing. First time they've been to the World Series since 2001.
Wow.
When they defeated my beloved Yankees in a game that really ruined history, because that would have been great had New York won after September 11th. Nonetheless, they're making it back. And what's crazy is the two teams now in the World Series, the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, 2 years ago had combined given up like 213 games. I mean, they were 110 and 103 game losers, kind of like the Rockies. And yet in 2 years, they turned it around, and now they're like the league champs playing for the World Series. That's not going to happen for the Rockies, but it's a great story because it gives you some sense of hope. But it was just so much good sports on last night.
It allows you the illusion of success for the first 3 days of the Rocky season. You can turn around and go,
they'll win the home opener.
Last year, you know what happened? These guys were horrible a couple of years ago. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is, and then it comes day 3, and you're like, no.
Yeah. The little glimmers of hope where they took 2 of 3 at home against the Yankees, and then it just happens to be the Yankees' worst year in over a decade. So I mean, it's like, you beat them, but not the good ones. Not the good guys. So that was a fun evening to watch that. Got some other big things coming up. I guess Thursday night, I will tell you, there's this group called Home Builders Foundation. These folks retrofit homes for the disabled. So
cool.
Whether it's through illness or injury or whatever.
And that is so difficult.
Oh my gosh.
Hard, and so expensive.
These are contractors, builders, suppliers, and these folks do it for nothing. I've just never met a more selfless group of people. And they, I
mean, that literally is on a one-to-one basis. Their work and effort are changing people's lives because they are making the home. Not the idea of this person getting out and around.
Right.
The place in which this person is going to be spending the vast majority of their time, the place in which they need to feel safe, the place that is supposed to be their respite from all the chaos that is going out. These people are donating their time so that these individuals can navigate and feel safe in their home. They're building ramps.
They have these lifts. There's a company that does these lifts. They do the rails up and down the stairs. They widen doorways in homes that were built, in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Oh, and that's not easy.
Nobody's thinking disabled and wheelchairs and stuff like that. So they do all this great work. Anyway, Thursday, big event for them. It's their big fundraiser dinner thing Thursday night at Infinity Park. And I'm excited to go to that, have a table full of great people, including Dad and his wife. And I had invited Trey. I'm like, Trey, you need to come down here. You're a beneficiary of these guys. Like, they helped do something in the bathroom that helped him be able to use it all by himself.
Oh, nice.
And he has a chemistry exam up at CSU at 7:00 at night. Now, I would call BS. Like, this is just a kid who doesn't want to, but he's already had one at 7:00, like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, what college is this where they do finals at 7 p.m.?
Yeah. There was one that Spencer came home this past weekend and had a chemistry final, and he had to get dispensation from the professor in order to take it on his iPad at home, because he wasn't going to be logging in through the regular portal, etc. And they verify that it's, because they know the IP address. So they're making sure you're not having your buddy or somebody else take your test for you.
Oh, yeah.
So he had to tell him, okay, this is what's going to be logged in. This is what it's going to look like. And so he had to identify it with the professor beforehand and get an okay so that he could do that.
First off, in college at 7 p.m. any night of the week, my ability to function beyond identifying whether something was a lager or an IPA or something across the room was zero. There was no chance chemistry was going to happen for me.
My freshman year, I took one class at 4 p.m. in the evening, and it was off season for soccer, so I could do it, and I could get to the other soccer practices afterwards because it didn't start until 5:30. So I took it at 4 p.m. and I learned very quickly, don't take classes that late. Your performance is abhorrent.
But the double-edged sword too is you don't want to go too early. Like, if you have a class that's too early in the morning, especially in college, for me, that became an issue because Thursday night was over at the Dark Horse. Well, actually Wednesday at the Dark Horse Saloon was ladies' night.
And
back when you could count on the fact that they were all
And that was the night that you wear your
in
special
college that were there. Yeah, that's right. But and then they had the taco bar.
Yeah.
And invariably all of these things were
And
really
there's a joke there that I'm not even going to touch on, but keep going.
So you have the ladies' night, you have the taco night, and then all of a sudden it's
Glad you said that.
Thursday, and now you're moving over to Pearl Street, and there's Potters and Pearls, and there's beer specials, and then all of a sudden it's Friday, and maybe you downshift a little bit, and it's just you and the fellas drinking some beers around the place. And then Saturday is Buffs game day.
Yeah.
And you start tailgating in your own house, which isn't really tailgating, but you know what I mean? And then
but you call it that.
You call it that. And then you're stumbling over to what remains of a tailgate to go to a game. One of the last wet stadiums, if you know what I'm talking about, in the NCAA back in the 80s and 90s. And then all of a sudden it's Sunday, man. And you're just kind of trying to figure out how to keep moving forward. Had I had classes at 8 a.m., and I'm sure I did, those classes I did not perform well. There's no chance.
Because oddly enough, as you know, I'm a little psychotic, and so this whole morning thing.
Why little?
Yeah, this whole morning thing has kind of been a routine my entire life. There was during early on in high school, we didn't have busing to high school, and my parents weren't driving me out there, so I was getting on the RTD, the Rough, Tough, and Dirty, at 5:30 in the morning in order to get out to school. So early mornings have kind of been ingrained into my body. During college, there was not a thing as a class that is too early. That does not matter. Did not matter to me. In fact, the earlier, the better it was for me, because part of what I was doing is I was volunteering at the local radio station on campus. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my beautiful wife, she and I would show up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock at the campus radio station and do news and sports reports that would run throughout the morning.
Radio brought you two together?
Yeah. And then... that and liquor, but that's another story. And you think
she
I'm lying.
Needed the liquor.
Yes,
she needed the liquor.
Oh yeah, if you've seen me, a lot of liquor for this. We're talking at least a handle of Jack.
Really, you look like Harrison Ford.
Exactly.
You are Han Solo.
She had to drink me handsome. So So the idea is we went there and we were doing it, and then we'd get a break right around noon, and we'd go in and we'd cut stuff for the afternoon. And part of it was that at the time, and you're like, why were you doing that? We were doing it for volunteer, and we're doing it for the experience. But we also were doing it to show the campus that this was a relevant idea. This was a something that was relevant inside the campus, because previously to us arriving, and there were a whole bunch of us that came in, not just us, but there were 5 or 6 of us that all arrived, and we changed how the radio station was viewed on campus, because rather than it being a free form where everybody went on every 3 hours and played whatever music they wanted, we created a format. We created advertising. We created imaging. We created promotions. We created an annual concert. We created 3 annual concerts
for free.
It was part of what we did. And then we did news reports that were at the top of every hour, and it included sports reports as well, because it allowed the people that were paying the bills, the people that were in charge of the university, to see these kids not just being a bunch of screw ups. And so we eventually got to the point where we had 6 different talk shows that were on the radio station at night, one of which would interview the chancellor of the university once a month. And so we created value.
You did all of this for free?
Yeah, all of it.
Billy, this explains a lot too. Not only is the getting up early thing ingrained in you, working for nothing also ingrained in you. That's did I know radio.
Little did I know how much that was going to pay off in radio. Well, pay off's probably not there. Little did I know how much that was going to be true in radio.
Yes. So you've been accustomed to it. You are the frog in the pot of water that gets boiled. You're like, this is normal, right?
Yeah, this is normal. Yeah.
I get it. This is perfectly fine.
Yeah. And it was nice because the radio station in college, we had a faculty advisor that would show up maybe once a month and see what we were doing. But everything else was all run by the students. And it was so much fun because we made so many mistakes and we did so many things correctly. And we ended up there were some amazing things that we ended up doing because of that. I mean, heck, I played drunk golf with the band 311. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, buddy, that sounds pretty good.
There's some other fun things that we did.
Real golf or like putt-putt?
Oh, putt-putt, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone might have gotten mad and thrown their club, but I won't mention which
someone
one
went Judge Smales?
Oh, yeah, one of the band members. And they were just being silly about it, but yeah. Again, we were inebriated.
I can say that the radio thing, of course, eye-opening as a guy who had been on the outside, much like the listeners here at 710. And I imagine there are folks out there driving around thinking, or listening, thinking, I could do that job. I listened to these 2 chuckleheads banter. I could do that job. I was one of those guys.
Yeah.
But then when you finally get into this position, you realize, one, how skillless and chaotic the entire process is.
Oh, yeah.
If I end up leaving this job, it will be one, and I'm doing this in priority. One, they've finally gotten around to firing me. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah.
Two, there's a warrant. And somebody has to come in, and it's probably Chief Acevedo under the guise of, hey, I'm coming in for my monthly thing. And pretty soon people on the Rumbles and YouTubes are really just seeing the top of my head as I'm slammed into the table or something.
You're like, wait, that's a lot of officers this morning.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
By one.
I don't think we've got headphones for all you guys.
Exactly. And is the canine unit necessary?
Yeah. What's the taser for?
Yeah.
Are you just being funny? Like, is that for Billy? Click,
Chopper.
click, click, click.
Yeah.
Or a combination of the money and the hours, buddy. I cannot. I've been doing this now almost a year and a half. I'll wait for Alexa to give me the exact minute I started, but there's just I've never adjusted. I can't adjust to getting up in the 4 o'clock hour on purpose.
It explains why people that work in radio and other mediums like this, especially TV, how we're wired a little bit differently, and we're somewhat uncomfortable in social situations because of what we have had to do.
But does one lead to the other? Like, did you find this job because you're just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, or did the job make you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
A little of both, honestly. I mean, I was already a very weird person before getting into this. This just kind of enhanced everything. It was kind of like, crazy highlighter is kind of what it did for me. But I fell in love with
steroids for your psyche.
It is.
Okay.
I fell in love with radio, though, in middle school. And it was after my dad had given me a shortwave radio, and I put it above my bed. And the idea that I could tune, and I spent a lot of time FM AM, but then doing some of the shortwave stuff, the idea that I could tune in and I could catch a radio show that was happening in Chicago, or I could catch something that was happening coming out of California because of the skip, or something out of Kansas. And then you get into the shortwaves, and you're hearing things from Japan and Germany and England and Italy. And I fell in love with this voice and it being an auditory medium. And I would sit, again, I'm a psychopath, but I would sit in the dark in my room at night and just listen. Yeah. And that's the kind of weird stuff that I would do. So I fell in love with it.
Was there incense?
No, not at the time.
Were you lathered up in a body oil or something? Was this going to get super weird?
No. There was a gong and it had those beads instead of a door.
I think you mispronounced bong. But,
yeah, exactly.
Nonetheless,
but that was it, and I fell in love with it.
Listen, it once again texts as we continue to talk. Dr. Julia, who is a big I've heard that conspiracy theorist for Michigan. As you know, Michigan, the cheatingest team in the history of college football, at least as of now. I mean, I'm waiting for evidence to the contrary. Yeah. But a big blue fan, which calls into question a lot of other things.
Yeah. We still love her. We still love her.
Oh, of course we love her. Yes. But she texted in your intro, you say doctors are the third useless occupation. Just one quick correction. Yeah. It's not my voice. No. It's not me saying that. It's Ron, right? I mean, it's Ron from Parks and Rec.
We're not objecting to it. But
no. I mean, we endorse it. Yeah, this is me retweeting it through the radio. Yeah. In your intro, you say doctors are the third useless occupation. We get off at 4 o'clock in the morning to go work and be at the hospital round on patients all the time and go to our clinics and do paperwork and operate all day long. And then sometimes we have to do it all night long. I'm building this in because I can read the emotion in the text. We get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Isn't hard because you've been up all night.
Yes, hard.
And then she said, talk about Michigan football. Again, that's interesting. Yeah, that's good.
I'm just going to say that Dr. Julie may want to reflect on her life choices.
She's been great to me. In fact, when I was getting ready to do some military stuff abroad, I was feeling a little bit under the weather, and man, she just fixed me right up. I don't know. Great. I'm sure it was a bunch of things I was supposed to have a prescription for. I'm probably risking her license right now. I'm kidding. It wasn't like that, but took care of me right away.
Next time you're in that chair, though, she's going to find a lot of cavities and have to use that extra hard.
Oh, I've got a couple cavities I bring with me. I just don't want them filled. But I'm in her office, and it's all big blue. It's all big blue. And it says things like she's got these big banners. If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. And it never meant anything to me until Harbaugh and the signal stealers. So I get it, Dr. Julia.
I've heard there's Michigan. They have a little app that you can play, and they just announced it. You pay a little bit, and it's for all the fundraisers, all the big blue fundraisers. And it's an in-game where you play. And what you're doing is you watch the opponent's sideline and you try to steal their signs. And so if you can do them, if you can get them, it's like Tetris. So if you get them quickly enough, if you can line up and you get all the signs right, then you clear a line, and then you get another thing, and you see what they're doing. Is it a run play? That's what I've heard.
The app is called Michigan Blue Me.
Yes,
and it's the color, but you know what I'm talking.
You know exactly what it's about.
Exactly, something horrible. I don't know why. As we get to the end of the first segment,
you made the phone ring.
Oh, it's Dr. Julia. Hold on.
We're gonna have to answer this. Hang on.
I should go. This is radio, folks. Right here is that they're
all right. She's on hold. Good luck.
All right, I'm going to take it right now. Joining us after a couple of hits of nitrous oxide, it's Dr. Julia. Doctor, thanks for joining us.
Hey, the whole thing about whining about getting up at 4:00 in the morning, really, it's not a thing, because most doctors work all night long, come to work, and operate in the morning. So my education from Michigan makes me be able to do all of those nice, wonderful things.
Did they require you to cheat on your exams, or did you just do it on your own?
We didn't cheat. We did not cheat on our exams. And like I would like to point out, Michigan's dental school is the #1 dental school in the United States, as well as internationally. So getting in there, you don't have to cheat to get in there. You just got to be a little bit good.
And then once you get in, do they encourage like that whole, hey, I'm going to leave the answer key on the desk and go to the bathroom for 10 minutes. Good luck, top of your profession. Do they do stuff like that?
No, they don't. And they don't have anybody doing sign language on the other side of the room to give us the answers. Like #1 is B.
You must be very proud of your Wolverines.
I am, and my office it's subtle. It's subtle. It's not overstated. It's just subtle.
How do you defend the Houston Astros of the NCAA?
They are not the Houston Astros of the NCAA.
I don't know. It feels like they're stealing signs. I mean, that was kind of the thing.
They get picked on because everybody's haters. Everybody wants to be a Wolverine. It's great to be a Wolverine.
Do you know what this sounds just like? And this legitimately happens. Dudes get pinched stealing cars, and they're like, hey, there are guys stealing cars all over this neighborhood, and you singled me out. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're stealing cars. Do you know what I mean? That's what I hear you saying, Dr. Julius. We get picked on. We're cheating like everybody else. Get off our backs.
No, everybody scouts out other teams. If you don't check out your opponent going into a game, everybody does that.
Is that what you think happened here? Is that your characterization of this?
Pretty much. Yeah.
This would be akin to you finding a tumor in someone's gum and saying, hey, you have a little something between your teeth. I mean, this is clearly more than scouting out the other team. Sitting in the stands watching is one thing. Recording it, hiring a former Marine Corps captain who I presume was in the Signal Corps, whatever that is for the Marines, and deciphering the signals, how they relate to the plays. That's a little bit different than scouting out the other team.
Didn't we have people deciphering codes during all of the major world wars, trying to get information about what our enemies are doing?
There it is. Yeah. I see it. I see it now. The NCAA football is just like trying to save the world from Nazi oppression. I get it. I mean, are you guys hiring some Navajo code talkers next? I mean, what are you going to do to advance this?
We have a whole section already that's working that does that. I mean, the Tommy talker.
Do you think anything should happen to them discipline-wise?
Well, if you break the law, there's usually some type of punishment. So let's go back to your let's steal a car.
By the way, thank you for leaving the door open with usually. Thank you for leaving the door open with usually. So
well, if you steal a car in Denver, what happens to you? Nothing.
Well, that's a strong point. I can't argue with that. That is true. So if Michigan had stolen signs,
if you steal a car in Denver, you get released to go steal a car again later in the night. So if so if there's a crime,
True.
there's a punishment. So if those are the punishments and it's a slap on the wrist, okay. But our coach
Touche,
was
Doc. I feel
suspended.
like you've taken my little analogy and beaten me with it because I forgot all about the fact that Denver is a law enforcement free environment.
Yeah, and so you should say checkmate here and say, Dr. Julia, you rock, you win. And
Listen,
so Michigan wins. And
I'm
we're
willing to
7-0.
mix
We're 7-0.
only so many metaphors. I don't know how you got to chess. You could say touchdown, Dr. Julia. How did you get to checkmate?
Because
you're such a queen.
You just gotta, woo.
I just did
Queen
it.
of the, what is it? The Gambit, that movie? Like she wins. She wins in the
Queen's
end, right?
Gambit.
Yeah.
Queen of the
She
Gambit is actually a porn. I don't know what that is, but
Oh.
Queen's Gambit is a fantastic Netflix series that I'd like my sons to watch.
It is a good
Dr.
movie.
Julia, since we have you on, question from a texter. Ask her if she'd be okay with OSU doing it. And I think that's Ohio State.
Oh, see, because that's a swear word at my house. When my kids were little and they would see people with Ohio State on their shirts or something, they'd be like, Mommy, that's a swear word.
Is it like stranger danger? If you saw a Buckeyes fan, they'd be like, Mommy, hold me.
So to quote the double standard that we live with all the Democrats that get to do whatever they want and they get to say whatever they want. So if it was Ohio State, yeah, they should prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
I will say this, your forgiveness, or at least not even really chatting up the Wolverine violations of the law thing, makes you Phil Weiser to Michigan's Tim Hernandez. I'm just saying it.
No, I'm like the George Brauchler.
Oh, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I am.
Of what?
I mean,
you can't just leave that hanging.
The George Brauchler of prosecution.
What?
You know?
No, you lost me on the last one. Now what does that mean? I mean, outside of the obvious, the good looks, the money, sure.
Yeah, of course. But no, I just think when if it was Ohio State doing something wrong, they could care less. If it's Michigan, it's just like how if the Democrats do something wrong, nothing happens to them. If Trump would do something, or if the Republicans would do something, they would make it the worst thing under the sun.
This is your text from yesterday. This is your text from yesterday. We are persecuted just like Trump gets persecuted. You are the Trumps of the NCAA. Is that what you're saying?
Basically.
So you're not denying that you're not denying that you had government documents in your pants when you left the White House and hid them in your house. You're just saying everybody does it.
No, well, first off, I haven't been to the White House to steal paperwork anytime lately. I haven't been there.
Appreciate the qualifier.
I haven't had that problem, but I'm just saying, I mean, I love Trump's policies. I just didn't like him in front of a microphone lots of times. So
guy's entertaining. I'll give you that. Listen, I'm as we're signing off for this segment, I want to say, one, thank you. And two, whatever patient you're dealing with right now, if they're under, thank them when they come to. Also, I hope this hasn't interfered with your surgery.
No, just getting ready to go to work. Just get start work.
I'm no doctor, but I'm going to give you one little piece of advice. Wash your hands.
Thank you. You're so brilliant.
Yeah.
You're brilliant.
All right. Well, listen, Dr. Julia, thanks for tuning in and trying to defend the indefensible. Once again, I appreciate that.
And after this weekend, Michigan will be 8-0, and all the haters will still hate. That's the Taylor Swift song.
I'm gonna check the roster. Thanks, Dr. Julia. I'm pretty sure there's someone named Altuve on the Michigan Wolverines team. Also,
now Dr. Julia is right though that the Michigan Dental School is one of the best, if not the best in the country. It's really, really good. In fact, they hold some really, really nice patents from all the research and stuff they did there. Yeah, they actually hold the original patent for the toothbrush, and we know it was done there because if it was invented here in Colorado, it would be called the teeth brush. Just saying. That's how we know.
Woo! Dr. Julia right now
I'm going to go sit over here.
is going to text back in and say, explain that joke to me. And that's because, of course, she's a Wolverine. Hey, listen, we're going to cut away for a break, come back and get to the Thorpe Report. And then some good, risky career ending. You choose the news. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. Wolverine Wasteland right here on 710 KNUS. Couple quick texts. Mike and Frederick, Harbaugh is pro-life and very conservative. I guess that means he can't cheat. Michigan football tagline, stronger, faster, wiser.
Cheatier.
Oh, smokes. There's so many other texts on this. What an interesting segment. But we got to put that in the rearview mirror and focus on the good stuff. It's called the Thorpe Report. Billy?
Hey, good morning, sir. Yeah, we've got sunny skies today, partially cloudy. 72 is going to be our high. Cooler rest of the week. 60 tomorrow, 48 Friday, 35 and 30 Saturday and Sunday. Possible to get our first snowfall. Not a large accumulation, but expect it over the weekend. Monday, we're back in the low 40s, 50 by Tuesday. Prosecutors could wrap up their case against the third Aurora officer charged in the 2019 death of Elijah McClain by the end of this week. Nathan Woodyard is the first officer to contact McClain in August 24th of 2029. Yesterday, jurors heard from the nurse who helped draw McClain's blood after he was admitted at UC Health. They also heard from various workers from a private lab in Pennsylvania, because I guess we don't have any here. They testified that ketamine and marijuana were found in McClain's blood. Could not say what, if any, effect the marijuana might have had on McClain's behavior that night. An early morning shooting last week has left a man dead, according to the DPD. 21-year-old Winston Marquez Morales hit by gunfire in the parking lot of 3327 South Parker Road, 3 a.m. last Wednesday. Rushed to a hospital, was declared dead. They're now looking for people that have any information about the altercation and what happened. Brighton Police Department is looking for your help in locating a 19-year-old man that's accused of shooting someone else in August. They were called out to a home in the 300 block of County Road 27, 1 a.m. on August 7th for gunshots. When they arrived, there had been a fight at a large house party, shots fired. A 24-year-old man later arrived at the hospital in a private vehicle with a gunshot wound. He survived his injuries. The investigation has identified the suspect, Jaheim White, 19, wanted for attempted manslaughter.
Jeez.
A black male, 5'9", 135 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, black hair. Chiropractor in Fort Collins facing 2 felony charges after he allegedly got a little handsy with patients.
Isn't that the whole chiropractor thing? Don't you have to get handsy?
Yeah, but evidently there are certain areas that are no-go.
You can't adjust down there, huh?
Evidently not. As surprising as much as I do during the day. Sorry.
Oh, you killed us.
I'd had to.
Oh, boy.
Fort Collins Police Services say they began investigating Brian Rorick of Peak Performance Chiropractic in January of this year. A month reported she had been inappropriately touched several times during the chiropractic visits. They then found another person that lodged a complaint in 2019, so the investigation is ongoing. Colorado Secretary of State's office and the CU Lead School of Business reported their 2023 third quarter business and economic indicator and report that extraordinary job growth here in Colorado is good. Our GDP is growing. Most economic reports, the third quarter findings are a mixed bag. A few key takeaways: job growth remains strong, especially here in Colorado. A Coloradan that is looking for a job, there are 1.9 job openings for every individual looking. So almost 2 jobs open
that
for
ought to
every
make
individual.
the in-house thing easier.
It should be. They did point out most of the job growth, though, seen in lower wage jobs. So it's the lower wages that are growing, not the higher ones, and job wages increasing somewhat. Third quarter findings, we have movement with inflation in the right direction here in Colorado. Inflation's just below 4%. For context, it was 8% at this time last year.
So hang on, just to be clear, there are radio openings.
Yes, there are. Lots of them. Lots of them. We will feed you with tens of chicken nuggets. And yes. And Denver Nuggets beat the Lakers, as you outlined last night, 119-107. And our Colorado Avalanche beat the Islanders 7-4. That's it. That's all I got.
That's fantastic. Billy, we're going to cut away. I want to come right back and do the You Choose the News, only because this could be the one that ends the show. This was the 5th reason we go off the air. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. Well, let's see if he can do it, folks. Buckle up. We've blown up the whole advertising game just for this segment. It's called You Choose the News with William.
Yes, good morning, sir. Yes, it is that time of the morning where we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. It's You Choose the News. We have scoured the interwebs for moments this morning to find really stupid stories, giving them dumb headlines to play this fake radio news game because most of the time the powers that be aren't awake at this hour. However, one of the bosses is right down the hall there, so we got to make this a little quiet. So, shh. Okay. All righty, sir. Here are your headlines this morning. Headline number 1, Ministry of Silly Walks solving crime. Headline number 2, Science is Hard Advertising Edition. Headline number 3, The World is a Vampire Set to Drain. And headline number 4, Death of Cox creates a Dixathon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not repeating that. There's some FCC rules.
There's simply no choice here. We're going Cox and Dix.
Thank you. Oh, the family and friends of Mr. Ian Cox are turning his loss into a legacy in Seattle because they're going to remember him with a Dixathon. Yes, it happened just recently, this past Saturday. What happened was that Cox was a man who loved mountaineering, and he was hiking in the area one day and never came back from the hike. They think that actually because of the warm weather, he fell through one of the glaciers and eventually perished. But the family and friends said they weren't going to let his death be remembered as something sad, so they created the Dixathon. Dun, 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 dun.
My God.
Well, the issue is that there is a fast food restaurant called Dick's in and around Seattle.
Yeah,
and what they have done, they have done is they have created a fun family run where you will start at one of the Dick's and you will consume part of a meal and you'll move to the subsequent Dick's. Yes, I'm saying this on purpose. And then at each one, you have to eat or imbibe something else there. And then eventually you've had all of your Dick's and then you're happy and you've got So that's it.
I'm sorry.
I know. That's all.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
A friend texted in. They were gone for fall break last week too, just along the lines of this. Son's big rugby player, went out, saw the South Carolina team, says best jerseys ever in rugby. It's just a black jersey that says across the middle, just Cox.
Yes.
That's it. And
I
he's
appreciate that.
I'm like, that's well, okay.
All right. All right. Next choice. Ministry of Silly Walks. Science is hard. World is a vampire.
Science is Billy.
Science is very hard. Lawsuit is accusing Shark Ninja of not understanding how science is working. Recently, Shark Ninja said their brand new Never Stick premium cookware is actually formulated at a maximum of 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It creates super hard textured surface, interlocks with our exclusive coating for a superior bond. There's a problem. Surface of the sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's no way you can generate 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit and still make a pan here on Earth. So there's a lawsuit saying, hey, explain to me how the science works and where is this thing that's hotter than the sun? Chances are they're just going to apologize. Final choice, World is a Vampire, Ministry of Silly
Vampire.
Walks. World is a Vampire. Yes, a Czech parish priest. Yes, in Czechoslovakia. Well, not technically there. They don't exist anymore. Has apologized to local kids because he is a huge fan of a 90s alternative band. That is the lead singer is Billy Corrigan. Yes, Father Jean Miller has had to apologize to young children because he's gone around the city stomping pumpkins.
What?
Yes, he was a pumpkin smasher. He's smashing pumpkins.
Oh,
yes.
Hello.
See how I did that?
That's very trivia.
See how I did that?
Very trivia.
Yes, so he had to apologize to the kids because he went around and he destroyed all these pumpkin displays because he was smashing the pumpkins.
Oh my goodness!
Somebody
working with Dr. Julia before the anesthesia hits her and the patient, tell her what that means because that's a little bit of an insider joke from old radio. Listen. Neil Dobro, Israel. We're going to get the on-the-ground perspective. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, hour 2 of 4 on 710 KNUS. At 10 o'clock, we give it over to the big man, Charlie Kirk, followed by Dennis Prager, little Seb Gorka at 1, and then live and local right here, Deb Flora. And in the final several years of his farewell tour, it's Steffan Tubbs from 4 to 7. I'm not going to ruin the special surprise that we have later on in the show regarding that very issue. Nonetheless, we're going to go right to the VIP line here and welcome back to the show our unofficial on-scene reporter right there in Israel, Neil Dobro. Neil, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to join you, George. Thanks for having this issue before the public.
Now, it's been a little bit since we talked. We talked to you in the early, I guess, days of this horrible event that took place on October the 7th. And what's flowed. Tell us what's changed since last we spoke to you.
Well, I think the initial shock and anger has tempered a little bit, but not that much. I think Israelis are feeling three emotions right now. And it goes back and forth between three emotions. One is anger, one is fear, and one is resolve. So I think that certainly the anger is very strong still. Listen, we had to see videos of beheadings of children, pictures of raping Israeli women on top of dead bodies, and a true genocide that was taking place. So the pain may never go away. This reminds us of the Holocaust, and it's been the worst, the biggest number of Jews to die in a small period since the Holocaust. So there's a tremendous amount of anger.
Well, and can I ask about that, Neil? Is the anger
Sure.
towards Hamas, towards broader Palestine, towards Bibi's government? I mean, where's the anger directed?
I think it's a little of each. It's mostly against Hamas, clearly. I think that it's also, to some degree, an anger against Palestinians in general, because the polls are very clear that the Palestinians support Hamas, and most of them support what they did. Not so true for Israeli Arabs. I think that's totally different. I think the polls show that 80% of the Israeli Arabs are against what happened on October 7th, whereas I think it was 54% of all Palestinians support what happened and support Hamas. And
what percentage did you say?
80%.
70 what percent, Neil?
I said 54%,
54%.
Of Palestinian Arabs support Hamas. 80% of Gazan Arabs support Hamas and what they do. So I think there's anger against Palestinians. They're not being allowed into the town I live in here because of obvious security issues. And listen, we don't say that they're all bad, for sure, we know that. But there's a significant risk. And in my community here and in other communities, there's a civilian guard to protect us as a second line. And the first line of defense is a number of Israeli soldiers stationed here. I happen to know how many, and I can't say, but it's a lot. And so we have our guard up. We don't want to see infiltrations into Efrat. And that's true for all the villages and all the towns around Israel.
We're talking with Neil. We're talking with Neil, who's still in Israel. Forgive me for doing that, Neil. Would you remind folks, by the way, which part of Israel you're in? And as we go through this conversation, I'd love to get an update on, when we first talked to you, you were just dealing with like an air raid siren. Have you had to go through that again with your family? Has there been any loss directly associated with your family out there or where you live, or have you had to relocate, any of that stuff?
No, thank God we have been fine. We live in a village called Efrat. So we're about an hour and a half drive from the Gazan border, or a 90-second missile ride from Hamas from the Gazan border.
And Neil,
But
somebody texted
fortunately,
in and asked, by the way, your source on those numbers, the 54% of Palestinians versus the 80% of Israeli Arabs.
it was the Palestinian Survey Research Group.
Okay.
I can text it to you later. I can text you
Sure.
the exact one.
Thanks.
So we have been thankfully safe. We did have to go into the bomb shelter 4 times, and the 4th time was the one that we did our interview. But we haven't had to since then. And rockets seem to have abated a little bit. So we're okay. But a number of people are a number of Israelis are very fearful of what's going on. They're fearful, firstly, for the soldiers, because the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, is a civilian army. We don't pay people to join as we do in America. So everybody has relatives, everybody has children, or certainly knows somebody who's in the army. So we're also very fearful for their safety. We've also carved up many, many reserves, and some of the reserves are even in their 40s. So these are heads of families and the breadwinners for families. So people are very scared for their soldiers. There's been a big uptick in people buying guns. And
I was going to ask you about that. I read that article, and Israel has always had a interesting and sometimes massaged view towards guns by people on the outside. I mean, there are weapons in Israel, but they're pretty well regulated. But I wouldn't call it like an America Second Amendment loving kind of country. And yet what I read in that article was there are so many people who are here now like, wait a minute, this may actually come down to me. This may not be a matter of me just being able to trust that everything's going to be okay and stop at the border. Are you experiencing that either yourself, with your family, with your friends? Have you gone out to purchase one?
Well, first of all, I don't think that it's an issue of Second Amendment here. Israel does have very strict gun laws. In fact, they're stricter than most American gun laws. But everybody in my area, certainly, we live in Judea, which is the ancient Jewish homeland for 3,300 years. And we're right in the middle of Arabs. So many friends and neighbors carry guns, and it's just a fact of life here. My family did apply for gun permits, and we're going through the bureaucracy now of trying to get a gun permit. And that's the first time. We've been here for 5 years and never seriously thought about getting a gun. But now we're in the process of doing it. And it's because of what we understood happened during the infiltrations into southern Israel. The Arabs were going from home to home and doing terrible atrocities. They brutally killed people. They burnt people's houses so they would come out of the shelters. And we understand that it's certainly in our area, it's not a probability, it's remote, but we might have to defend ourselves. And that's what it is here in the Middle East. So yes, we've applied for guns.
And that bureaucracy, just so that we know, how do you go about getting the government to bless off on you having a firearm?
It's not easy, believe me. Israeli bureaucracy is well known, stemming back to our socialist days. You have to get first a note from your doctor saying you're in good health. Secondly, you need a note from the city verifying your residence.
Neil, is it good health both physically and mentally, or just physically good health?
Physically and mentally. Your doctor has to sign off.
Okay.
Then you apply to the government, and we've done that, but the computers have been down. The system crashed, actually. And that gets you in line for an interview.
Wow.
After the interview, then they'll approve or deny you a permit to get a gun. Then you have to get a gun. You have to have 4.5 hours minimum training on the gun and show that you know how to use it. Then finally you can get a gun.
And are there limits to the kind of gun you can purchase?
Well, unless my understanding is that unless you've been in the military, you can't have more than a handgun.
Okay.
But people who are in the military and people who are in the civilian guard here often walk around with rifles and machine guns. For example, when we go to synagogue, not uncommon to see people with machine guns, come with guns, which I think would shock a lot of Americans. Unfortunately, a lot of American Jews also. But that's the way it is here, and that's what makes us feel safe.
You had referenced this poll, and I think it gets us to another question, and that is there is, and you probably sense this from the stuff even you're reading from America, there is this effort by some to be pro-Palestinian while either not commenting negatively on, not condemning, or sort of trying to separate Hamas from Palestine. What's your sense of that? What's the Israeli perspective on that from the folks on the ground there?
About the U.S. support?
No,
or
not just that, but how do you view this notion that, hey, it's really just Hamas, the rest of the Palestinians are just these innocent people who are drug into this thing?
Well, first off, certainly there are very innocent and very fine Palestinian Arab people in Israel. They are, and the Arabs who are Israeli citizens who are not in the territories, Judea and Samaria, what's called the West Bank, many are very pro-Israel and good Israeli citizens. Having said that, it's important to note that a lot of the Gazans are not at all innocent. It doesn't mean them all, but certainly they're not innocent.
What does that mean?
We withdrew in 2005 from Gaza. There is no Jew and has not been a Jew in Gaza since 2005, except when we had to go in to fight. In 2006, the Gazans elected Hamas to be their government, and they support it. About 80% of Gazans support Hamas. So this idea, and Israel was very, very good to Gaza before we left. Under our so-called occupation at that time, the GDP in Gaza tripled since 1967 when we took it over. And when we withdrew in 2005, we owed them nothing under international law. But we continued to supply the Gazans with food, with water, with fuel for a power plant. And we did that because we wanted to help them set up their own independent, free state. But what they did is they chose Hamas and they support Hamas. It was kind of one of the things that threw us off at the beginning of this war. I think that the people in power figured that that Hamas would not go against the material self-interest of the Gazan people and take on Israel. There were 20,000 Gazans who worked in Israel for wages much, much higher than they could get in Gaza. And that's true around here also. And we figured they would not cut that lifeline, but they did. They committed economic suicide. It was one of our core assumptions. So they are not so innocent. Many have had the opportunity to go to the southern part of the Gaza Strip where we're not attacking, and others have stayed, and they have done it pretty much by their own choice.
Neil, given how small that area is, that's Gaza, and the fact that it's one of the most concentrated places on the planet in terms of people and land and stuff, is it realistic to expect that half the country, and I don't know how it's apportioned, I'm making this up, but half the country then just abandons their homes in the north to go shift down south? And I'm presuming too that Egypt hasn't been like, hey, everybody, come on down here. So they're sort of stuck.
Well, the truth is, and everybody knows, that the Egyptians don't want the Palestinians. They don't want the Gazans, for sure. They consider them trouble, and they don't want any part of them. then you're right. About half the population has moved. There are about 2 million Gazans. About 1.1 million have gone down to the south, where they are going to be safe. Look, we evacuated a tremendous number of people from Israel, both in the south and in the north. We've pretty much cleared all the southern communities and got them out of harm's way. And we're doing the same thing in the north. In war, people relocate. That's the way war is. And Israel has given them every chance to get to safety.
When you hear that the troops have massed up to 300,000, whatever it is, on the northern part of Gaza, but they have not yet gone through. They have not yet begun whatever that offensive is supposed to be. What is being told to you out there in Israel is the reason for that? Is it tactical? Is it political? Is it at the request of either the U.S. or some other countries that are trying to get to a different kind of resolution? What are you hearing?
Well, people are really upset about that, actually. People are nervous and fearful. We're ready for it to start. It seems that the reason we haven't is, one, is that there's negotiations going on for prisoners. And we're not sure how much of that is a result of what Biden is asking or demanding that we do. And we're distrustful of that. Another thing I've heard is we were getting ready, but I think by now that's, gone by the wayside. I think the IDF is ready to go in, and our soldiers are enthusiastic and ready to go in to clean up and rid the world of Hamas. Another thing I've heard is that Gaza, Hamas has a tremendous system of tunnels underneath.
Yeah, I've read that too.
In the Gaza
Yeah.
system. Miles and miles and miles of tunnels. And if they want us to go into the tunnels and fight them, and that would be very, very costly. So one of the things I've heard that we're doing is we're trying to wait for the fuel to run out or destroy the fuel, so that there is no fuel and they can't run their generators. There's no electricity, and they can't run their generators, so they can't keep the ventilation systems in the tunnel going. We want that ventilation system to stop so that they have to surface, both the Hamas soldiers and hopefully some of the people who are being held hostage.
Well,
So
Neil, we've seen this.
that's
We've seen this before. I mean, we're talking 50 years ago. Whether it's Cu Chi in Vietnam, I mean, this isn't the first opponent to engage in tunnels and tunnel warfare. I mean, how about Iwo Jima with the Japanese? My concern is for the Israelis is door to door has its own risk. Going into tunnels is something entirely different.
Right, very much so. So, so we're very leery of the so-called humanitarian aid because, let's face it, Hamas controls all of Gaza, every inch. Who's going to receive the aid? Hamas is. Do you think that they're going to give the supplies, the food, the fuel, the gasoline to the people? Not at all.
Neil, these last two questions are the biggest ones so far. And that is, one, you hear a lot of folks, especially on the left, and it's uncomfortable the way that this has sort of become, in my opinion only, a litmus test in many ways for how people feel about Israel and the Jews. Like, there are a lot of people, it feels like, who have taken this opportunity to intentionally or otherwise raise their hand and out themselves as anti-Semitic, that you just didn't count on taking that position before. But a lot of them are calling for a ceasefire. Tell me about your thoughts about a ceasefire.
Well, we're very, very much against it, and we're fearful that Biden or the international community will try to impose that. Look, we can no longer live next to a terrorist entity. We thought we could. We thought we could contain them. We can't. You can't live next to people who want you dead and want all Jews everywhere dead. And by the way, want people in America dead. So we've got to go in. We've got to find every Hamas leader and do away with them. We've got to find all the rockets, all the command centers, everything that they use to govern. We've got to rid the world of Hamas. And a ceasefire after what's gone on is the last thing we want. We want to get in and do the job. The public here is very united. There's a tremendous amount of resolve, as I mentioned before. And frankly, it's great to see the unity and the patriotism of fellow Israelis behind this idea of getting rid of Hamas.
Neil, last big question, and some folks have texted this in. They're like, okay, now what though, right? Like, where are the Gazans supposed to live? And my presumption is that question is, after this is over, what does that look like? And where do those people go?
Well, the internet, first of all, where do they go now? They go to the south of Gaza, which is going to be more or less of a safe zone. We would hope that the Egyptians would open the border and let them go to the Sinai or into Egypt, but that's not going to happen. But we can't stop because of the civilians. We've got to do what we've got to do. As I say, we evacuated our civilians, and they're staying in guest houses paid by the government, and most of them are staying with friends and relatives. There's more in Israel. There's more invitations for people from the south of Israel to stay here than there are people to stay here. So the Gazans first can escape, and then when they go back, Gaza will be flat. Not flat, but it'll be largely destroyed. And the international community and all these people who are crying to support the Gazans will have to rebuild it, and they will. I wouldn't worry about that. The Palestinian Arabs are the highest supported so-called refugee of any group in history per capita. They receive more money than any other group. And what has happened to the money? It goes to the government, it goes to Hamas, and they use it to build tunnels and kill Jews. So what happens later? The first thing is we've got to take care of Hamas. We've got to stop them. We've got to eradicate Hamas completely. Afterwards, Gaza will be rebuilt. We have no worry about that. Money is already being pledged. It just can't go in now because all the so-called humanitarian aid will go to Hamas. If we could get humanitarian aid just to the civilians, I think we're all for it.
Neil, before we cut you loose, someone else just texted in, hey, what's a great place to go to get reliable, trustworthy information on what's going on over there?
I go mostly to something called Arutz 7.
Spell that again. Say that again.
ARUTZ. It's 7. It's a channel 7. It's the Israeli news service, Israeli national news. There's also something called the Daily Alert from the Jerusalem Center. Daily Alert from Jerusalem. That's a very, very good source. And those are the main sources.
Neil,
Ben Shapiro is a great source.
Oh, Ben Shapiro. Okay, everybody knows Ben. Yep.
Ben is great. Dennis Prager is great, who's on your channel, I know.
Yep.
Good sources of information.
Neil Dobro, I can't thank you enough for being our guy on the ground there. And please, we'll stay in touch, you and I will, through the means we communicate. And just let me know as things develop or things you think, you know what, people over there ought to know what's going on here. Please let us know. We'll have you on as often as we can.
Thanks, George. Appreciate your interest in Israel.
Absolutely. And please stay safe, you and your family out there, okay?
Thank you. Will do.
Thanks, Neil. Hey, listen, we're going to cut away for a break, come back. I've got some texts that are here about this. I'd love to answer any questions that you have or hear your thoughts on what should happen there. This ceasefire stuff is building a little bit of momentum. I don't think it's enough to make it happen, but it's something interesting that's developing in the face of this. I can tell you my opinion, but I'd much rather discuss it with you live on the phone at 303-696-1971. Can I pretty please tell you about Mitch Floria with the Art of Granite? Mitch is a guy who left his homeland. It was Romania, to come over here to America to start a business that if you haven't used him and you're looking to upgrade the interior of your house, you're making a mistake. You've got to give Mitch a call and check out his website, theartofgranite.com. And what you'll discover is this is a guy who makes your house beautiful on the inside, the one you're in right now, by upgrading the countertops in your kitchen, your bathroom. Heck, you might even be finishing the basement. If you tell Neil that the wholesale prices are super cool, but oh, by the way, and you don't have to whisper it, I'm a 710 George listener. This is the guy that goes, well, I got a special deal for you, but just you. Wholesale prices plus you get the kitchen countertop package. I throw in the bathroom countertop for free. Boom. That just happened. He'll also, if you're just going to do one room, maybe it's the basement, he'll throw in the sink for free with the countertop package. That's the kind of businessman Mitch is. And the reviews are undeniable. I got to tell you, of all the folks that we talk about here on the show, and I try to use every single one of them so I can tell you how it really impacted me and how I feel about them. Outside of Twin Aspen Dental, I'd say Mitch Floria, I get more unsolicited comments from folks who are like, oh my God, I heard you read for Mitch. He did our house, or he did our neighbor's house. It is incredible. They were great. So great to work with. Call him on his cell phone, 303-386-5919, 303-386-5919, or check him out at theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. When we come back, you, me, Israel, Hamas, ceasefire, ? George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler, right back with you here at 710 KNUS, special in studio guest at 8 o'clock. Until then, my great thanks to Neil Dobro, who's taken time out of the early evening hours over there in Israel, ground zero for the struggle with Hamas, who I think wants to eliminate them. I'm just so sick and tired of hearing this from the river to the sea nonsense, and unless someone's going to stand up and embrace it. Yeah, I say that because I want to see the end of Israel. Please don't say it means something that it doesn't, and it's just showing support for Palestinians. That's just garbage. It's an end to Israel, and let's be honest, an end to the Jews too. And that's the part that I'm concerned about, is that we have just now summoned all of the anti-Semites to come out of the woodwork here to announce their true beliefs. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we've just figured out a way to get the whack-a-moles to stand up and announce, hey, this is who I am. Anyway, if you've got thoughts on that, give us a call, 303-696-1971. A lot of people saying, well, what's your solution? I don't have a solution to the problems between Gaza and Israel. And it's a tough question to even ask Neil, and I appreciate where he's coming from. And it's basically, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We're going to flatten out Gaza to get rid of Hamas, if that's what they make us do, and then we'll rebuild from there. What's the better answer? What do you do? Mass evacuations of Palestine, and to what country do you take them? I think I know the answer from the far left, and that would be, why don't we move them right here to Denver, Colorado, or let them cross the border on the southern border and bless them off as immigrants who can show up, as refugees who can show up to a hearing many years from now after they've established families. So saying no to them and kicking them out would be an impossibility. But I don't know that we have to come up with that answer. I am interested in what the reason for the delay is. For those who want to say, hey, Israel is just out there committing all of these human rights violations and war atrocities, the delay itself is providing an opportunity, and in my opinion, contrary to military doctrine, to allow, and I'm not talking about Geneva Convention, I'm talking about you move in, you go get the enemy as quickly as possible. You don't give them an opportunity to fortify their positions and to create other, mischief. That's what's happening here. But if the point of it is to provide Gazans to go down from the north to the south or make some other arrangements to protect themselves, to minimize the impact of this war on innocent civilians, how does that jive with this Palestinian Hamas-loving garbage of the Israelis are just out there to kill innocent Palestinians? I don't think so. It just doesn't make sense. Neil said, hey, Israelis are frustrated that Bibi hasn't already moved forward. But again, maybe this is proof that, look, if they can minimize these casualties, they will. But Hamas got to go. Got to go. I mean, can you imagine if your neighbors had a drunk brother-in-law in the basement who constantly threw Molotov cocktails at your house? They're in there, and you send the police. Well, the police aren't leaving without that guy, right? You got to get rid of that dude. You can't just say, hey, can we talk it out? Please stop throwing the Molotov cocktails. That's just not going to work. I'm trying to come up with a better analogy, but I don't know. Here's another text, similar, same person. Where should they go? I don't know that they should go anywhere permanently. It's not that Gaza can't be fruitful and successful. In fact, the information Neil gave, and I'm going to plead ignorance on this, I don't know the history of Gaza, was that under Israeli occupation, which they did not want, there were a greater number of Gazans there. They thrived economically compared to what they're doing now. And at the end of the day, when Israel said, hey, we're not going to occupy anymore, Palestinians turned to Hamas. And all of the support and supplies and things that they were giving to try to improve their lot there in Gaza has instead been used to dig tunnels, buy missiles, train terrorists to attack Israel. Well, now what? Whose fault is that? I don't think it's the Israelis. Somebody on here texted me and said, hey, it's just natural law. When you put people in a cage, you should expect things like this. No way. There's no way I'm going to allow you to apologize for their behavior by saying they're just doing what nature compels them to do. We don't apply natural law to what we do. That's why is the Israeli army, the IDF, hasn't just mowed down everything in front of it along Gaza, because that would be natural law. Go take it all out. Survival of the fittest. Yeah, and frankly, in nature, we eat our young and we abandon the sick, and we just don't do that. Natural law doesn't apply here. But that's my opinion. What's yours? 303-696-1971. I, by the way, also wanted to, before our special guest, and maybe we'll cut away for a break, Billy, and come back. I did want to play some of that sound of Jenna Ellis again, because there's something happening out here in Georgia. And, we'll ask our guest at 8 to her or his thoughts on this as well. And then I want to get your input on it. What is taking place in Georgia? What is your impression of what is taking place in Georgia? And what I mean by that, of course, are the Fulton County prosecutions of the 19, including DJT. Before we cut away for a break, though, I want to tell you about Gay Ribble and Empower Home team at Keller Williams. Selling a house in this market is super challenging. I just read another article that said these real estate investor prognosticators predict that for 2024, prices will remain high, scarcity will remain a real issue, mortgage rates will reach their 20-25-year high. Getting in and out of homes is not something you do by yourself, and it's not for the faint at heart. Instead, you reach out to someone that you can trust, not just because they've been doing it for a long time, but because they're a good human being. That's Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Yep, sure, they sell faster than other people. They sell more homes every year than everybody else. They sell for more money on average than everybody else. All that stuff is true, and that would be a good reason by itself to call Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. But how about this? They're people you can trust, independent of all those other statistics. In fact, maybe it's that thing that leads to all those other statistics. Give them a call at 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or you can check them out at gayhasthebuyers.com. That's gay, G-A-Y-E, hasthebuyers.com. When we come back, a little Jenna Ellis, you, me, and then dang, in the 8 o'clock special in-studio guest, George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. That's Jenna Ellis yesterday taking a plea to a felony. She will be a convicted felon, as far as I can tell, unless there's some quirk about Georgia law I don't understand or know about. That's possible. She's going to be a convicted felon for eternity, not an automatic disqualifier from holding a license to practice law in the state of Colorado. But my guess is her days in front of the Attorney Regulation Council, I don't know. It's coming. That's my guess, is she's going to have to answer for some of this stuff too. It's very interesting to me, and it's a conversation I want to have with you. I'll have it with our guest in the next hour as well. But I'm very interested to know how you interpret this. The Kraken, Jenna Ellis, Rudy Giuliani, Steve, what's his name, the one political guy. Are these dominoes falling for a reason that suggests that the president was involved in a crime? Do you write this off as just the result of prosecutorial oppression and arm twisting and coercion, or something else going on here? In terms of sympathy for Jen, I don't know if I'm there yet, but I want to say this, and I've met Jenna multiple times. I got to know her just a teeny tiny bit from just running into her at the radio and stuff. But my sense of it is she is a person who was in love with the idea of being popular, needed, maybe even famous. And she got all that stuff when she got caught up in the glare of the Trump world. And it was easy to jump on board and see yourself on the big TV and saying a bunch of things and people loving you and getting 1 million Twitter followers, which I think she's got about 1 million Twitter. I mean, that's intoxicating stuff. That's heady stuff for anybody, let alone a younger person who hasn't had a lot of experience practicing law. And she hasn't. And I believe her when she says she just believed Trump and the other people that were in her ear telling stuff because they say it like it's so confident. It was soothsayer stuff, like I think that's real. And so I think that hearing her apologize for this, for some folks, it's like, hey, these are crocodile tears. She just got caught. This is okay. Maybe that's true. But I want to leave open the possibility that this is the first step on a path towards redemption. And I appreciate at least that she has done what so many others haven't, and that is to come forward and eat it all and own it all. And now she's going to face the consequences. But I want to hear your reaction to this stuff too. We're just not going to do it in the next 10 seconds. Hey, when we come back, special guest in the studio, and then we'll have a conversation as well. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
44 degrees in downtown Denver and Decay. George has left the building. George may never come back. Steffan Tubbs with you until 10 o'clock tonight. Following that, Peter Boyles from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's an extended Peter Boyle. Hi, George. Good morning.
Our special guest in the studio, Steffan Tubbs. This is the first of several phases of the farewell tour.
I'm just glad I'm in because I am so sick of your bull. Do you have my bleep?
I don't. I asked Billy this morning. This is no joke. Do we inherit the bleep button?
You should.
Because we've
should.
always been denied access to it. Like it's like don't touch it. This is Steffan's.
You can access sound on my wall.
We may end up having to use it, but this will be phase one. My understanding is when the farewell tour is over, you will be 65 and you will be ready for some sort of.
Listen, you don't think I listen to you. I know you don't. I do. How long is this farewell tour? His farewell tour that lasts now, I think you said this morning, 4 years.
Well, we've debated on how long it is.
Good morning, Billy, by the way. Good morning.
Think,
good to see Bill.
For those of you that don't recognize the voice here on the show, my name is George and Steffan Tubbs. We were talking earlier about, will this be such a successful farewell tour that it has to be extended? Do you know what I mean? At some point, do you announce like on November the 1st that, folks, by popular demand, I'm including several other cities in this tour, and I'm here through February, something like that?
That is not going to happen.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Now,
there is one scenario.
Okay. What is it?
The one scenario is, I want to joke with you this morning. We'll have some fun.
Yeah,
I hope.
Of course. Yeah, not,
a huge breaking news at the mid. From now until November 3rd, if there was just an unbelievable breaking news story here in Denver, I've already told Kelly. I said, if something does happen,
give us something. So for perspective, historically, what would an event be that is in that zip code that would get you to rethink
if there were a plane crash at DIA and 317 people died? I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm not even being I'm not joking. If there were, I think that would be crazy for me to have a station I love and a career and something, enormous.
Right in your wheelhouse. Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. And so after today's show, 7 more.
So in essence, if we hear you again after November
I'll be on KOA.
Yeah.
That is a total lie.
Hello, somebody just pulled what's his name? You Steffan, you rascal, you have it.
That's not funny, George.
We could do
I'm only on Twitter right now.
Dueling impressions, and only then to throw hateful tweets out.
I hate you all. You Trump-loving radio.
Trump radio is the best.
There's Mark Crowley walking through the halls. He was always good to me, but at the end of the day, I hate him too.
So in essence, if you're on the radio, on this station at least, after November the 3rd, it's because of some horrible event.
Yeah, and even
okay,
then.
so even then you're not sure. So listen, how do you pack up a career?
Listen, for the time that are we gonna be serious here? Let me be serious.
All right, okay. Sure. Let me turn off your mic.
No one lets someone do what I asked them to do. I didn't expect them to say, yeah, sure, announce at the end of August that you're going to leave in November.
Yeah.
That does not happen in radio. So
Billy has said the same thing. He said usually it's like you turn off your mic for the morning and it's over.
It's this. Come down the hall after the show. Yeah. Or in the case how you will end is we've had it with you. Get off it. It'll happen live in the 8 a.m. hour because they don't get here before 8.
And then I will go to Twitter and announce how I hate Trump radio. And this will be the worst thing ever.
No, seriously. So here's how you wrap it up. The best. There's no playbook, but I have had this farewell tour because I've tried to, and I'll still have, there'll still be 50 people that I could have had on. There's just not time, but I really wanted to, in my final couple of months of a career that's been almost 34 years, I wanted to have people, especially from the perspective of the 710 listener and audience and guests. I wanted to have people not to have on to tell me how great I was or how much I saw.
Because they haven't done that.
No, they have not. They certainly have not. I have almost 2 months to prove that. No, I wanted to thank people.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank people who have made my life as a newsman and a talk show host in Denver. I wanted to thank them, and I wanted to thank them for making the show better over the last nearly 6 years.
I missed your interview with Mayor Hancock. How did that go?
You know, he was unfortunately planning his next PJ party.
Oh, jeez. The gloves are off, folks. It never ends. You did have an interview with the governor, which when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's impressive, man, that you were able to pull that interview. That says a lot
40
about
minutes.
You. It's pretty good.
Well, it says a
and
lot
where
about.
Did you guys do it? Which club? Where?
God, I hate you.
Was it at the Gov Mansion?
No, he hardly goes there.
Yeah, he
only for COVID press conferences.
Well, my understanding is Art Laffer got to stay there when he came in to shill for HH. So anyway, I presume it was at the governor's office.
It was at the governor's office.
Okay, that sounds nice. How many other people were in the room with you and him? And he?
Let's see. Mark Crowley, our chief of staff, who was running kind of the engineering, because we recorded it on a Tuesday and then it played on a Wednesday.
Reed Chaperone. Go on.
Connor Cahill, the press secretary for Governor Polis.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Oh, okay.
He's a good dude. Treated me well. And then some woman named Christine, who
Held
was
the
like,
gun.
she was like leaving in 2 weeks to go to New York. So there were a total of
was she there
of
to
5 people.
Protect him or to just rubberneck this dumpster
I think she was
fire,
just,
or?
Probably Connor's assistant. But the one thing that you can say about when I say all the time, and nobody believes me, and that's fine. I couldn't care less, really, especially with less than 2 weeks to go. Call me a rhino, call me a suck ass, call me a Polis. I mean,
we do all the time.
I know, and you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Polis and I have been friends. We met at Rocky's fantasy camp probably 15 plus years ago.
Wow.
Well before he ran thought even to run for Congress. So, look, Jared Polis is a goober. I think the one thing though that a lot of people, if you understand and embrace that you're a goober, I mean, you've done a great job of it. If you embrace that you're a goober,
I don't have any self-awareness. So yes, I have.
He's also very smart, and he's also been good to me personally. I don't agree with. I don't know the last time, and there have been a couple.
Yeah,
there have been a couple of instances where I'm like, that was kind of a governor thing to do. Forget the politics, but 99.8% of the things he's done, I disagree with. And the BS about how he's trying to spin Prop HH. So we got into all of that, but I was really glad at the end of the day, considering, whether this is hate radio, as some people call it, or Trump loving radio or whatever. I'm a newsman. I'm a newsman. I'm a talk show host. And I appreciated the fact that we got as much time with him as we did.
Did you guys at the end do an HIOB, a little hug it out? Bleep?
No.
I'm
dead serious. I don't know why people literally asked oh, did you hug him at the end? No, I can say I did not.
Yeah, but I would bro hug him at the end if we had that kind of relationship, because I bro hug everybody.
No,
but I agree with you in this way.
Shook his hand.
I respect his willingness to not just do the interview with you, but even that thing the other night with Michael Fields and Rose Puglisi, the debate on HH. Governor doesn't have to do that.
That was highly unusual.
Governors don't jump
Governors
into debates.
Usually don't do that.
Dude, and Fields is right. Dude had only debated Heidi Ganahl one time or something like that. I mean, that's not his game, but he showed up to do it, and he was conversant with the facts, very great facility of all those things, and I was impressed with that. I disagree with him, but I mean, he's got way more courage than his predecessor had when it comes to dealing with the public and taking on things like this. Like his predecessor.
Who was that?
I can't even remember now, but it was a guy, right? But it was a guy who was crystal clear that he would not make a good U.S. senator. I don't know what he's doing now, but he left the governor's office before.
Well, you think too, go back. I mean, go back to Bill Ritter. I was actually pretty good friends with Bill Ritter, Bill and Craig, when they were both at the Denver DA's office. And, you look, they didn't really talk a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just appreciate his willingness to do it, even if it's with that ridiculous Colorado cashback or whatever it is that he called it when he gave us our Tabor refunds back, but sent a letter.
The letter
under his
that
letterhead.
never mentioned Tabor.
No, just like HH never mentions Tabor. It's like Voldemort for the left. You know what I mean? Like it cannot be named, but it must be ended. That makes Polis the Harry Potter of the. I don't like that at all.
By the way, did you go to London?
I did.
You folio. You sent me this random text.
I followed your advice as much as I could.
Did you?
Yeah, as much as I could. We tried to hit as many things.
Did you go to the Tower of London?
Did go to the Tower of London. Pretty cool. And then right after that to the Tower Bridge.
Yes. So, which many people confuse with the London Bridge, which is not.
It's not only not, it's the London Bridge is lame. I mean, it's just
Correct.
like a stupid little viaduct thing over the top of I mean, that's it. It doesn't do anything.
Did you get any bangers and mash?
I did. I also
the food there like absolutely the worst.
It's definitely a different cuisine, but
except for the like shepherd's pie stuff.
Okay, so I was going to say I did that with a little bit of the haggis in it and the steak and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad. Did you?
It was good. And then we got up to Scotland, did a little bit of Glasgow.
Never done that.
A little bit. Pretty cool. And I had heard this before from someone who had said we actually liked Scotland more than we liked London, and I can get why. I mean, if you go to Edinburgh,
love London though.
London's great. And you go out there all the time, though. Every time there's a sale on tickets or something, there's a social media post of you in London, and then I hear Jimmy or something or somebody. You know what I mean?
I'll be back. Bloody hell!
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting city, and I don't know that people appreciate this. I think demographically, it's the most diverse city on the planet Earth. You know what I mean?
Did you notice the incredible, unbelievable homeless encampments and homeless problem in London? Oh, wait.
I saw one dude on one bench as I ran with Graham through Hyde Park. One dude in a sleeping bag on the bench at let's call it 8 a.m.
Why would that be, George?
That was it.
Could it be?
No, I don't know what.
Could it be?
That's haggis.
Could it be because they do not tolerate it?
I think that's true. I think if I'm taking up the cause of the far lefties, I'd also say that it's very likely that they have far more government provided services on the front end to try to prevent that. But there's no doubt in my mind they will not let their city be blighted by tent cities. I didn't see a single tent, a single tent. I mean, the idea that they would be encamped in their version of our Civic Center Park has got to be Buckingham Palace and that whole area around there, right? Like that's got to be it.
Just a little bit more history, but I get your point.
No, but in terms of the location for us and so nothing, man. They won't let anything. I mean, litter alone. Maybe there's a couple of wrappers on the ground, but the idea that someone's going to throw up a tent around there, I don't think so.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. Yeah. It was a cool trip. I could go back and do more. There just wasn't enough time. Like I wanted to tour Parliament, not enough time to do it. So got to see Big Ben.
British Museum.
Did go to the British Museum.
Imperial War Museum.
Now I wanted to do that.
Dude, that is up your alley.
Yeah, I couldn't get there with the kids. We just ran out of time. I mean, you take for granted that there's a list of things. Something else we did that you probably didn't do is we spent half a day getting to and enjoying the Harry Potter Warner Brothers studio where they filmed the Harry Potter thing.
Nice. No, I did not.
And I'm telling you, it's pretty cool. I mean, for a guy that grew up with the movies as a dad, not as just someone who enjoyed it, it was cool. And the kids who I thought had outgrown it, I mean, they're 16 and 13-year-old boys. They still loved it.
Is it King's Cross where they have the platform 9 3/4 or whatever it is?
Right there.
Did you see that?
I did. In fact, we were taking a train up to Edinburgh, and it was an early train, like maybe 8:30 a.m., and there was a huge line for that ridiculous thing. And then they have a Harry Potter store off to the side. But they also have 3 of those pretend platform things at the Harry Potter studios. Also, huge lines of people getting pictures of themselves slamming into the wall or going through with head warts or whatever his name is, the owl. Nonetheless, it was a great trip. I could have used more time there. Imperial War Museum, I wanted to see some more Churchill stuff.
Another thing to do in London. We can switch topics, but I love that city. One of my favorite, and Churchill's war rooms.
I wanted to see that.
Going down and seeing, the bunkers under, probably 10 to 20 feet down below. And you think about when Churchill was operating in World War II, how come it was so basically simple? Wait, he was in underneath that building, and it's only, Big Ben, so to speak, is only this
right there,
far away. Westminster Abbey. Did you get to Westminster Abbey?
Not the inside, but of course the outside. Yeah. We didn't get a chance to tour it, but of course, I mean, it's all right there. I mean, the Airbnb we had was 2 blocks from Buckingham Palace.
Actually, the reason why you're teeing this up for me is Monday, November 6th, I start the Steffan Tubbs show in London.
Oh, do you have to take on an accent?
Bloody hell no.
It would be awesome.
They think I already have the accent.
It was a cool trip. I'd like to go back. There's more I'd like to see. I'd like to get over to Ireland and all. The other thing, though, just quickly on the Churchill thing, what I was impressed with is this tiny little island with this handful of people stood up to Hitler at a time when the rest of Europe had kind of fallen over, man, or been pushed over or given up. And
the bombings of London, the Blitz, lot more people died than I think your average somebody just, oh yeah, I know that. I think Hitler sent some planes over. I mean, there were a lot more Londoners died than, into the thousands. And you can still see along the Thames, you can still see some of the pockmarks from some of the shrapnel from bombs that were dropped, and you can see them on buildings and statues.
I didn't see that. Yeah. Did you do the London Eye? The little.
I've never done that because that would be the ultimate tourist thing.
But that was the very first thing we did.
Actually, I heard you talk about that.
Which is like, listen, let's get the bird's eye view. Let's scope it all. I was impressed with how close everything seemingly was for a lot of that stuff, whether it's the Tower Bridge, Buckingham Palace, Westminster. It's all pretty walkable.
St. Paul's Cathedral?
Didn't get there. Didn't get to St. Paul's.
That was one of the most iconic World War II images, during the Blitz.
I screwed it up. Now we have to go back.
You got to go back. Plenty more to see.
Edinburgh Castle, by the way, got to do that.
I'm jealous because I want to get up there someday.
You got to get up there and take a look at it. A lot of cool places up there. Also a bit touristy at certain parts, but really cool. Really cool place. Anyway, listen, I wanted to have you in mostly to tell you off before you left here. No, I'm kidding. I wanted to have the conversation with you, but I don't want it to just be the Steffan Tubbs, this is what radio's meant to me farewell thing. I kind of want to do things we haven't normally got to do, and that is to banter about the events of the day.
Bring it. Let's name names, kick-ass name names. I will. There is zero filter. There's zero effing filter. Great. Right, Bill? Nope. Bill's got the dump button.
And in all candor, and I don't make the stuff up. When I say, hey, Billy and I were just talking about this, that is legit. We were just talking about this. One of the questions I want to ask is, what is the strongest substance that you took before going on air? You don't have to answer that right now because we're going to cut away for a break.
Oh, what a tease.
But we're going to end up starting with that question and working our way through the rest. Before I do that, though, I got to tell you about our friends at QC Kinetix. By the way, Steffan, won't you miss doing the live reads? Won't you miss doing because you get to know these people, right? Like you get to know.
I could do a Black Eyed Pea spot with their banana pudding right off the top of my head.
I think you probably do all the time. I hear it all the time, the Black Eyed Pea thing. And I'm so thankful that they've moved over to Pete. Nonetheless, our good friends at QC Kinetix have figured something out that a lot of folks don't know about yet, and that is that regenerative medicine is the way to get rid of those pains in your joints, especially if you're reaching that age that Steffan's at. When you're in your early to mid 70s and the warranty has run out on the knees and the hips and the lower back and all that stuff, you're tempted to want to go to the doc and say, pain pills, please. Don't do it. You're also tempted to listen to the doctor's advice and get that orthopedic surgery stuff. And while those guys are wizards, those guys and gals are the jocks of medicine, no doubt about it. Do you want to go under the knife, the anesthesia, the long rehabilitation process? Hard pass for me if there's an alternative, and there is. QC Kinetix uses you to fix you through regenerative medicine. All you have to do to get the benefit of their procedures. Well, I'd start here. Start at the website, qckinetics.com. It's a Q, it's a C, kinetics.com. Or you give them a call and quiz the heck out of their local medical professionals. Ask them every question that you have. Scratch every itch. 303-900-8986. 303-900-8986. That's QC Kinetix. We're going to try to scratch our own itches right after the break. It's George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler right back at you here on the George Show. Special, in air quotes, in studio guest. His name is Steffan Tubbs. Steffan, thank you for sticking around and remaining alert. We asked right before the break for you to contemplate the answer to the question. And I know we're leaving it all on the table because you don't care. You're not moving. It's not like CNN's going to revoke
but I
our
don't.
offer.
I do. I'm not going to CNN, Ken Buck. I am not going to MSDNC.
What substance? What's the strongest substance you have been operating under while on the radio in your 50-year career?
34.
They're whatever.
That would be caffeine.
That's it?
McDonald's coffee.
You've never once had to pour yourself into the seat here and do the show?
Here?
Oh, and here,
I mean,
here, I mean behind the microphone. I don't mean here at 710. Obviously,
I did 2
you would
programs.
never do anything at
When
710.
I was doing the morning show at KOA, there are 2 times I was blitzed.
Really?
Bonkered.
Could we tell?
Schnonkered.
Can we go back and listen to a podcast and there's a tell?
Could you tell I announced it on the air?
Oh, you did?
And I'm not proud of it, but of thousands and thousands of times opening up a show and being on a show, 99.9999996% of the time I was
Drunk.
completely sober.
Oh, sober.
No, you want to know them?
Yeah.
One.
Let's hear it.
What are they going to do? One was in 1998. Cheryl Preheim, Mark Stout, and I
Blast
were
from the past,
out.
man.
Yeah, we're out in San Diego, my hometown, San Diego, for the Super Bowl. Your Denver Broncos versus the Green Bay Packers, Elway, Favre, and we decided we were going to go and we would go down to Tijuana. And
This is after the win.
No, this is pre.
Oh my!
This
what?
is pre. This is like on a Thursday.
What?
Dave Logan, Scott Hastings doing their show, and Stout and Cheryl Preheim and I, we decided, let's take the trolley down to Tijuana. We will do a live remote from a bar on the Revolucion. And I may have had some tequila.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I've drank tequila
Stout
since.
and Preheim too?
Oh, yeah. But they weren't on the air. So I called in.
What? And would you?
I called in to their show.
Oh,
no, to their show. I had been to Tijuana as a teenager growing up in San Diego.
Could you hear the donkeys in the background?
I've never seen that. It's an urban myth. It's an urban myth.
Sure it is.
So anyway, that was one. And I just couldn't stop laughing. And
oh my God.
They were, here's one thing I do remember. You know what that is?
No.
That's a tequila popper. You sit in a chair and you tilt your head back. Are we on YouTube? Wow.
We're on YouTube and something called The Rumble.
I wonder why they never did that for my show in the afternoons.
I think looking at it, it's probably obvious at this
Pretty
point.
clear.
I mean,
so for you on YouTube, are they YouTubers?
I think they're
Are they
tubers.
Georgers?
They're
So
not Georgers
you sit
for sure.
back like this. You sit back in a chair and you got somebody with a whistle, like a coach. He's got a whistle around his neck, and he's got a bottle of probably 75% water.
Oh, really?
But you open your mouth, and then the coach, he's pouring, and you got the in the background, and then they spin you around in the chair, and they shake your head, and it's really
projectile vomiting.
As an adult, it's really the stupidest thing. I'm paying for that.
Do we?
So I did that on
It's
the air.
98. It's pre-iPhone. Are there any video images?
None.
Oh, that's okay. So that's one.
And number 2 was Super Bowl 50.
Oh, okay. So these are Broncos victory related things.
We did the show on Devil Radio from the convention center, whatever, Radio Row, when the Broncos beat the Panthers.
Sure.
But the Friday before, they had the media night, the Thursday night, pulled an all-nighter.
Oh, man.
And the morning show.
You were in California.
Yeah, we're in San Francisco. We were in downtown San
Right.
Francisco, though the game would be played at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. But that Thursday or Friday morning, my co-host and I, she may deny it, but I'm telling you the truth. was more hammered, hungover than me.
Wait,
and
I'm not looking for names, but who was it?
That was April.
April, of course.
Of course, duh.
Yeah.
So it was like, the top of the hour ID and the show open, and it was good morning.
And you guys did how many hours like that?
4.
But I presume you sobered up over time.
I have never done a show with a more throbbing headache.
Thank you for that.
There was no getting sick or anything like that. I mean, I'm not a rookie.
That would be awesome. You hit the little cough button or the sneeze button.
I have been sick. I have puked during a show.
Oh,
but just because I was sick. It was illness. No. You know what I used to do back in the day, especially over at Devil Radio, was you'd take a little snack. And, getting in at 4 a.m. and then not really leaving until 11 or 12, your tummy rumbles. I stopped that years ago because I have absolutely choked on the air live.
So, wait a minute. You're eating while you're talking on the microphone?
Well, you're trying, like if you're in a commercial break and you, have some pistachios.
Yeah.
Bad choice. Eat a granola bar. Very bad choice. Have some popcorn because people on those weird shifts by 7:30 a.m. that's dinner time.
The day old celebratory food that you guys get when it's fresh that Billy and I get the next morning.
You do realize
in the little kitchen area.
The best thing about a kitchen commissary type thing in a radio station is it is perfect to clear out your own fridge because radio people will eat anything.
I think that's true.
I brought in, did you take a couple of the granola bars?
Nope.
I brought in 3 huge bags of like Nature Valley granola bars.
From the NOM, from like way back when.
You've had an MRE or two. They may have had the same shelf life. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed though, Billy and I noticed this, that we'll come in and see the remnants of things that would have been awesome to participate in I presume it was all sales staff driven, but like pizza that people couldn't be bothered to actually move the 2 feet into the fridge so that it was still like
my favorite
sitting
is
there. Like
what
you
happened? Go down the hall and make a left and then make another left. And in our little kitchen area, it's like I have seen food items and everything. And God love Brian Taylor, our former general manager. I told you I was naming names.
Yeah.
Dude seemingly went to King Soopers every morning and got whatever had the half price sticker on it, and that would become the radio food for the day.
And never took the sticker off either. He wanted you to know that his love for you was at a discount. One thing that we get here in the morning show that you guys don't get the benefit of is, as you know, Mark Crowley is a pro-am kind of chef in his own way, baker. Like he bakes and stuff, and he will bring in stuff that he made the night before, and we kind of get first crack at it. The other thing I've realized is Mark doesn't like thin people. What's that, Billy? Yeah, breakfast cake, things like that. Like Mark doesn't like thin people, and so he wants to make people not thin.
Did he ever? What is it called? Bill, you help me on this. Did he ever bring in the sticky dick?
Oh, no, spotted.
Dear God.
Spotted dick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, now wait.
You
folks,
guys
we're out of safe harbor here. I don't know where you're going with this, but I didn't anticipate Steffan's last show being my last show.
It's like before the show, George, when we're about 15 minutes away and we have to do that. We go to the restroom and do the full body check for ticks.
No. That's not.
We don't
ever talk
Billy
about
just
that.
opened up a door.
No.
So here, I'm going to do it. That. Yes, I am. No. I get off the elevator and I make a right, and it's like 7:58. You guys have just taken your break. This is this morning. This is less than an hour ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And I make the turn to walk down our hallway to come into this palatial broadcast facility.
It's huge.
I see George and Billy at the same time walking into the restroom. I'm like, You guys go pee together?
Wait, but the problem is that if you would have arrived 2 minutes beforehand, you would have seen our coordinated dance down the hall.
Oh yeah,
there's
one.
There's a time change. There's a portion in which we have to mirror each other, based on moves. I mean, part of it is kind of an homage to the story that radio tells over history, and part of it is we just got to go pee. So, I mean, again,
Listen,
we put a lot into this. We got our own special handshake.
Sorry.
There's
not,
I mean,
not
you know,
during or after.
I have no one
Yeah,
to do a special handshake with.
I mean, you have not lived until you have seen George really get down and twerk.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know,
So,
twerk or
listen,
twerk?
twerk. He can, yeah,
most
he can shake
of
it.
that is not
Yeah.
accurate, but the truth is, here at the 710 sorority, we're on the same cycle.
Yes, yes, we are.
Oh, my God.
It is wonderful.
I cannot believe you just. This will be your final show.
You're pounding the
great.
coffee in the
Yes.
water all morning, and you
time.
get these limited windows of time
Yeah.
to rush out there and do something.
Yeah.
There's only so many potted plants in this place. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
there
You
is.
have to at some point use the
Yeah,
men's room.
and then there's this point where we get in there and there are other people in other offices that are in the bathroom down the hall. And then what are George and I supposed to do? I mean, you got nothing left. You got to do crisscross applesauce. You just
Or you
right
could
there
just
and-
walk another 25 feet to go to the other side of the building with a
What?
fresh
Yeah, but
set of
there's
stalls.
But
another
again,
bathroom?
that's but again, that's we don't have a dance that goes that far down the hall. We've only
No, and
that's the problem,
amount
and
of
we don't
time
want to
it
repeat
takes
it.
to walk the
Yeah.
extra 20 feet. It's
No,
outrageous. We
yeah.
can't do that.
Are we getting into Jenna Ellis? Because I'm ready.
We actually even have sound, but I can't do that yet. In fact, it's fortuitous, I think, for the people I'm about to read for that you're here. Tell us about Joyce and Brent Tolliver, because they are the roll 'em out shelves wizards.
Joyce and Brent Tolliver celebrating 20 years as a Colorado business. You can get a free estimate. Do I remember their number off the top
hold
of my
on,
head?
hold on. Let me pull this thing up here while you do that, because I
It's
won't be in a-
rollemoutshelves.com. What you do is schedule your free estimate, and they'll come out and they'll assess what they can do for you. We use our rollouts every day in our kitchen. They can do spice racks organization. They can do liquor cabinet organization.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
They also can do lazy Susans. You know, she's always been a lazy one.
Hello.
Utilize whether it's your kitchen or bath, laundry, pantry, garage.
Oh,
They
that
can
sounds smart too.
absolutely wherever you have cabinet space. Joyce and Brent can help you. Rollemoutshelves.com. See, George, what you want to do is get your free estimate, and if you go with them right now, at least the deal
Yeah,
before
that's what they got. Let's keep
bail,
going.
you know, you get the free installation. I think it's
And
up
you
to an
get
$80 value.
$80 value on the installation of the first 4 rollouts.
Let me see if
at
I can
no charge.
remember.
Yeah, go do
Okay,
it. Let's
I'm
see
going
if
to
you
try
got
to
the
remember.
number.
I'm going to try to remember the number. 303-475-9601.
Nailed it. You stuck
Yes!
that landing. You stuck that landing. That's it right there. 303-475-9601. Rollemoutshelves.com. M is me backwards. Roll-M-E-M outshelves.com. I clearly couldn't have done it better. You've been working with Joyce and Brent for a billion years now. So
Yeah, like 6 years.
that's a long time.
Almost 6 years.
Good. In fact, I met Joyce right outside these doors because you introduced me to her, and I instantly thought she should really be with me. But I don't need it at the time.
I think they've left me.
Yeah.
Well, I only have
think
7 more shows.
I think you've lived to 7 more shows. That's depending upon whether or not management in Dallas is listening to this one right here.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning. Our new
Let's cut away for a break. When we come back, there's a couple more questions I have, and I want to prepare you for them. One is greatest mistake made on radio. Your
easy
greatest regret on radio. Have you revealed this already since?
Over the years, but this
Okay,
is a good
no,
one.
I
for
want
you.
to. I want to hear this here, and then we'll talk about the interview you had the greatest optimism for that just turned out to suck, because not all of them are winners. You want them to be, but not all of them are winners. Let's cut away for a break. When we come back, Steffan burning whatever bridges remain from his career to any future radio station. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. In some ways, a perfect song for our in-studio guest. It's Steffan Tubbs. We don't have a ton of time left in this segment. Steffan has foolishly agreed to stick around.
Usually your third segment in your hour is about 10 seconds long.
It's true. We're not good at managing
We got to go.
time.
George Brauchler, 7 minutes.
Maybe you have listened once or twice.
I do listen.
I want to get to the question
kind of a fan
that I teased you with, and that is fact or fiction, personal hygiene. No.
Total fact. I am as clean as a
If we
whistle.
can't finish this in this segment with the 4 minutes we have left, then we'll do it in the 9 o'clock. But biggest regret / mistake on radio for you?
Calling Snooki butt effing ugly when I thought my mic was off. And I didn't say effing.
What? How did that even come up?
Well, first and foremost, I take full responsibility because it came out of my mouth. Secondly, I totally blame the fill-in board op over at Devil Radio who somehow had my mic open.
But how does it
I
even
had
come up
turned it
as
off.
a topic? Like, of all the things Billy and I talk about off air.
I got death threats. Hand
You did not.
to God. Yes, I did. I'm looking you in your eyes. I got death threats. How could you say such a horrible thing about, and it turned out, do we have a rim shot? It turns out actually what I said was absolutely effing true.
Were you talking about Jersey Shore or what was the?
We were in a commercial break and somebody had brought up Snooki and I'm like, I don't who's Snooki. And so I did a little Mr. Google search.
Yeah.
And I'm like, woo, she is butt effing ugly. And I looked down and the mic light
And
was
it went
on.
out everywhere, huh?
It went out over
Do you remember
50,000 watts.
Do you remember the ad you spoke over when you said that?
Yes, I do. I hand to God do. Tom Shane.
Oh, no.
The Shane Company.
Yeah. Now you have
Now you have a butt
Yeah,
effing
oh boy.
ugly friend in the diamond business.
All right. Now, we got the 2 minutes left. I want to go to the other topic, and that was the interview that you had lined up. You had great optimism for it. It just turned out to suck. It was not what you thought.
Western author Larry McMurtry.
Real? What? Why? How?
Lonesome Dove.
Yeah. How did that? Why did it suck?
Because he was the worst interview in my 34-year career.
Like, was he a one
The
word
worst.
answer guy? Or
Ask me a question.
what's it like to be a cowboy?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. What is it like to be a cowboy?
Was he angry at you or something?
He was a total a-hole.
Was
Rest
he a
in
Snooki
peace.
fan? Was that what happened? Like
This is actually probably a couple years later. No, I'm not going to say like the most anticipated, but I guess it was most anticipated turning out to be a horrible interview. Larry McMurtry, hands down.
And did it seem he was?
He didn't want to be there. I'm like, why am I then promoting your stupid books?
Is it in
And I like
person?
your stupid books.
Was it in person?
No, I was on the phone.
And so somebody put a gun to his head and said, "You are going to do this guy's show." And
Well, he was on
like,
a book tour, for God's sake. I I pity the people, the stations around the country after me.
Huh. I wonder if he, that was just a quick timeout for a granola cough. By the way, I'm eating one of the aforementioned granola bars. Yeah.
Sucker.
It's interesting. I can't date it by taste. I can't tell you what
Oh, those
year.
things have I like an MRE, man.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too. Hopefully it won't stuff me up.
Have I told you lately that you are butt effing ugly?
Yeah. No, but it's going to get, frankly, it won't get you death threats. It might get you.
No, I did from East Coast that was when Twitter was just starting. I'm like, I get all these messages and it's like,
how do you
We're
deal,
gonna come
how
and
do you
get you
deal
in
with
Colorado?
the worst interview like that? Like, how do you deal with a guy that's
you end
that-
it quickly.
And then do you do
Larry
the nice thing like-
McMurtry, everybody.
and buy his book, Hateful Dove, or whatever it is. And you,
Terrible Dove.
that is, buddy, it's unexpected.
We
I
got to
don't-
give somebody a tease for the 9 o'clock hour. No holds barred.
Here
Name
we go.
names. I will. Juan
name
Marcano, by the way. We're still trying to get Comrade
yeah.
to
If
come
you
on the
can pull
program.
that off, man, you are a wizard still at the top of his game, leaving at the top of his game. That's hard to do.
Yeah, and my impression of Jenna Ellis yesterday. I'm sorry, I got caught.
We're going to talk a little, Jenna. We've got some sound. I'd love to get your feedback on that, what it all means. And is it true you're leaving to run as Trump's running mate? To stick around, George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. It's the final hour of the Hump Day Show. That means every minute moving forward is another step closer to that glorious weekend that's upcoming. Yep, the one where we're going to get pummeled with that first snow of the year. But I'll be honest with you, and Steffan, you've been in this game longer than I have by decades. But these people right here, and I'm holding this up for the YouTubers and the Rumblers right here, that do the weather.
That's an ominous looking week.
What an utter scam. I mean, they just say stuff and they're never held accountable for it. If you had to give up a digit of your finger every time you were more than 5 degrees off, I think this game improves greatly. But right now,
all you do is you say the models showed me this type of result, and things
and they're
change.
talking about fashion models. Nobody ever calls them on that. The fashion models say it's going to snow this weekend. So they said snow this weekend, and it's going to be super cold, 35, 30 degrees, whatever.
Boom.
Anyway, we got Steffan Tubbs in studio here. Steffan will be making his way through the remainder of the Salem universe over the course of the next 7 days. He'll be on
That is not true.
Charlie Kirk, Dennis Prager, Seb Gorka. I imagine you're going to do at least Deb Flores' show once or twice, and then you're going to wrap it all up a
Promo
week from
code
Friday.
snooze.
What are they going to do? Fire me?
Listen, did you, by the way, when we were all together down at the border in El Paso in a month that rhymes with Schmebuary, did you at that point think that by this point in the year you would be signing off?
Oh, that's a great question. It's right around the time I decided to start thinking about it.
To start thinking about it?
Yeah.
Like you had never started thinking about it before? Like it had always just been a foregone conclusion, I'm going to keep doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And it was that experience down in El Paso that got you to start
Well,
thinking about
some of the behind the scenes, and if there was ever a time.
I was a witness to the behind the scenes. I mean, some of my favorite moments were the several hours you, me, and Deb tried to film that 30-second opening to the It was, God, I just want the outtakes.
I'd like to see the outtakes. Maybe Crowley has those.
That cameraman dude was great. I don't
Rudy.
know. Rudy was the bomb,
Awesome.
man. That dude was unflappable. And then as we would continue to roll through both the practice and the execution,
didn't somebody like trip into a foxhole or something near the wall?
There were
somebody twisted an ankle.
So many things that took place. And I think Rudy enjoyed it all. I think at the end,
There's no doubt.
I think at the end, the biggest compliment I got was he stepped away from the camera and he goes, "I'd like to have a beer with you." And I'm like, that's great.
That's right around the time though. I knew that we were going to do this upcoming documentary film on fentanyl and its impact on Colorado. And I started thinking about it probably around February. And it really came to my decision was in August. I'm like, you know what? We're going to start the production of what's amazingly our 9th documentary film. And
you make documentaries.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Interesting. And the one that you're making right now is on something called fentanyl.
Yeah, it's such a scourge on this country right now.
Well, you've also developed a pretty good relationship with the family members of some folks who have died because of. I mean, you've got that relationship thing going.
You know what? And I have said this on my program a couple of times at least. In my own personal cell phone, I have nearly 24 parents who have lost children in Colorado within the last 4 to 5 years, most of them within the last 2 years.
What's the age range on those kids?
The youngest that I am aware of the parents that we've talked with about fentanyl deaths, the youngest is 14.
Oh, my son's 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have said, I've tried to you say it once or twice, you're being overly dramatic. You say it consistently for a couple of years. I hope that people finally take me seriously. Coming up this weekend, our final American Veteran Show. You were my very first guest over at KOA when we started the American Veteran Show.
And at the time, we thought the last guest.
Truly, after that hour with you, how did I make it an hour? But there's a reason I bring that up is the final program of the American Veteran Show is coming up this weekend. You were the first guest. I started to think about, well, am I going to end the American Veteran Show? Am I really going to hang it up in a career that I love? But then it started, I see the the impact of fentanyl, and I you know where I stand on veterans and veteran issues, and that's one of the hills I'm willing to die on. I don't want to die on it, but I will. But the other one over the last couple of years is I will die on this hill of fentanyl if I can say, and it's not that I save. I don't have this savior complex, but if I can convince somebody, I know that having the talk about the birds and the bees can be uncomfortable and weird for the kids and weird for adults or whatever. But have this talk with your children about fentanyl. Don't take anything. Don't take it from Mrs. Krabappel. Right. Don't take it from your neighbor. For God's sake, don't take it from a kid on the school campus, elementary school campus, middle school, high school. You'd rather, my mantra has been, George, you'd rather have this talk about don't take anything. There are people out there that do not care if you are dead in an hour. Have the talk, because you'd rather have the talk than plan your child's funeral. And I get that messaging not from thin air. I get it from the parents that we've interviewed.
That's tough, man. When is this thing coming out?
So it comes out May of next year. So after Friday, November 3rd, I'm going to take a couple of the next 2 months off. My son and I are going to London, but we're going to go to Europe for 3 weeks. My oldest son, my youngest kind of gets the shaft because he's still out at San Diego State, but my oldest and I we're going to go back to Normandy. I'm going to go back for his first time. I'm going to go back to Normandy. We do know we start in Paris and we end in Frankfurt, and I'm going to do 3 weeks with him, and then it'll be Christmas, and then starting in January we'll get into the edit process for this documentary film. And I appreciate one of our great interviews is a guy that I only know because of you, the DA in the 4th, Michael Allen, and it's everywhere, man. It's everywhere. Yeah. In Colorado. And I'm almost confident, I haven't proven it yet with a few counties, but I'm confident in saying every county in Colorado, 64 counties, there has been at least one fentanyl poisoning.
There is no better solution than obviously a government supervised injection/use site. I mean, that's clearly going to be the solution to this problem.
For sure. I mean, and why don't we just not offend anybody, George, because you always do that. They're safe injection sites.
Well, they are safe. I'm not sure for whom, but they are safe.
One of my big foils, I'm going to actually today, I'm going to try to do this. I want help from our great listeners, right?
Yeah.
Let's come up with the top 10 list of greatest foils since February 5th, 2018, when my show began, the top 10 foils. One of the top 10, white lab coat lady.
Yeah.
White lab coat lady. Marcano's on there. Tay Anderson's on there. A lot of people are on there.
One of the texters, of course, Alexis Steffan, is leaving to do a Tay and Tubbs show. That actually would be worth seeing the one time it's on.
You know what else would be good? Let's do, how about a 2-hour special?
Okay. Clothing optional.
Steffan Tubbs, Kyle Clark.
I'd like that. I'd like to see that. What are you guys going to talk about?
Whatever he wants.
Okay, I like that idea. Have you reached out to him? Have you gotten an interview with him?
No, he blew me off after the whole producer controversy where 9 News, basically ruined a young man's life. My first Narcan 9, by the way, is what I call it.
Yeah. That probably hurts the relationship too.
Yeah. God, let me take a sleeping pill because I'll otherwise not be able to sleep tonight. I couldn't care less. Let's name some names. Let's do it. Come on.
I know where you're coming from with that in this way. It turns out we're unlikely to get Phil Weiser on the radio. Billy has used all
Fentanyl
of his
Phil
mighty,
is what I call him.
mighty efforts. And Billy, if you could recite for us, what was it that the PIO for Phil said the last time you asked?
He said he would be happy to join the show just as soon as the Rockies win the World Series.
Which I take as a never. I take that as a...
Listen, the fact that the Arizona flipping Diamondbacks are in the World Series.
I understand. I
mean, they're just a little better than the Rockies.
2 years ago, they gave up, 110, 103? I can't remember how many.
So what you're saying is Fentanyl Phil will not be a guest.
So.
I don't think he's going to be a guest in my final 8 shows either.
She's got the courage to come on. Let's do
Jenna Griswold. Jenna Griswold was a guest at one point. We treated her with respect. Jenna Griswold is one of the biggest jokes to ever get elected.
Why she's not coming on. When you say things like that, that's
Let's name names. Come on.
Let's do this before we name names, just because I've done this to myself. You know a guy named DJC. That's not DJT, DJC. Daniel J. Kaplis.
That's Kaplis, Caplis.
That's right.
I just saw Dan a couple of weeks ago.
You did?
Big fan of Amy.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger.
Wait a minute. What a great sentence. I just saw Dan a couple weeks ago. Big fan of Amy.
I love Dan. You know, I back in '94 when I first met Dan Kaplis.
Yeah.
He's, toyed with some political aspirations, much like yourself.
Yeah.
I started calling him the senator. Senator, good morning.
Yeah.
Back then. Dan's a great guy.
I'll be honest with you. There's maybe there's been some opportunities in the past. I hope there's something in the future. It's not going to be this election cycle or the next. No Republican, in my opinion, really has a viable shot of winning statewide until we fix some other things.
I wonder why.
But that guy could be great in office. Do you know what I mean? Like he would go to the camera and say things in a way that.
Can't you see Dan in the role of the president? Who was it? Was it Bill Pullman who was the president in Independence Day?
Yeah, for sure.
It's Kaplis.
Yeah.
This is our Independence Day.
I just want to see Dan in the Senate Judiciary Committee questioning nominees for the United States Senate. Do you know what I mean? I want to see Dan asking those questions and using the phrase, and he could coin this one. Let's be intellectually honest. Let's be intellectually honest, Ketanji, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this,
Ketanji.
He would be incredible, just like he is in the courtroom. Taking those courtroom skills to the United States Senate would be brilliant, but I just don't know. Guy does too much good work out there in the courtrooms fighting for the little guys. If you need somebody to take up arms to help you get justice when you've been hurt by someone else's negligence or recklessness, or heck, sometimes even their intentional conduct, he and a guy named Baber Wahid. This makes me feel old, Steffan, because Baber did his very first trial with me, jury trial, out in Arapahoe County in front of a now retired guy named Judge Wheeler. We did his very first jury trial, and that was 18 years ago. That is crazy. But between the two of them, they have jillions of successful outcomes, back to back multi-million-dollar verdicts. They've taken trucking companies down one at a time. They got the biggest verdict against a trucking company ever in Colorado. If that sounds like the kind of person you want fighting for you, give them a call. 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551, or check them out at Dan Kaplis. How do you spell that, Steffan? How do you spell Kaplis?
That'd be Caplis.
Law.com. Steffan, back at it. Now, we keep teasing that we're going to talk about current events because I want to have this conversation with you. Billy has got some sound from yesterday's either during or post entry of a plea of guilty by someone named Jenna Ellis, who hails from Colorado. Billy, do you have that sound? Well, that's why I used the word Billy in the 30 seconds
Why
before.
don't you play your own sound?
Because I'll press a button and it'll sound like something stupid. It'll sound like this.
I don't even think he has your computer up.
He doesn't. That's
of course,
why.
you never.
He's smart enough to turn off my
buttons.
That's true. That's very true.
You can't let him have scissors. He's going to hurt himself.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. I'm going to do something live on the air.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Oh my God. What are you doing? Are you pressing buttons? Hold on. He's showing me stuff.
Billy,
folks.
put that computer up, please.
Folks, he's teaching me stuff. Touch the button called indexed. Touch. What did you just do? Oh, no. Uh-oh.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
I don't follow Denver politics.
There's always Coloradans who are ignorant and selfish.
DPS, slaving up an DPS.
What? Dude, are you playing all 1,000 of these? We don't have a show that long.
When the fit hits the shan, somebody's going to have to stay after school.
Buddy,
that's how you play your own sound.
We don't do that here because I imagine Billy doesn't want me to know that those things exist. Now, Billy, can you reclaim the helm here because and take us into hyperdrive, make it happen, number one, or make. Listen, that was Jenna Ellis. When we come back, that also is Jenna Ellis. Is there no sense of compassion?
None.
Well, we'll have to talk about that when we come back. But before we cut away for a break, though, I've got to tell you about our good buddies at Ultra Botanica, except you don't know them that way. It's Ultra Cur. The Cur is curcumin. They spell it. It's pretty interesting. It's got Ultra Cur, the C-U umlaut. If you know what that is, that's the two little periods above the U are. These are the good people that have a patented, all-natural method of making all of that inflammation and pain associated with it go in the way of the dodo. And they'll do it. They'll prove it to you for free. 3-day free trial. All you have to do, make your way to one of a jillion natural grocers that are out there. Find the Vitamin Manager. If you try to find this thing on your own, you're going to strike out. That's when people have called us. They're like, I can't find it. Because you have to find the Vitamin Manager. And you say, please, can I have my 3-day free supply? And they'll say, sure. And then you say, you know what? I've got somebody else that I love out there. I'd like them to try this thing too. They'll give you another 3-day supply of this. And if you're like the other folks out there that have done this, and they have a study, 50% of them felt relief within 48 hours. Of that group, 50% felt relief within dose. That is Dutch Irish for 2 hours. Why not see if you're one of those folks? Billy and I have each tried this thing. It's not kept pain from coming in when I try to do those long runs, but it has certainly mitigated how long that pain is with me and makes the recovery, in my mind, seem a lot quicker. Go to getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com, but go to your natural grocers, Vitamin Manager, and ask for your 3-day supply. We're going to cut away for a break. When we come back, Steffan may be here. We don't know yet. He just sort of left the room when I started talking. Stick around. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. George Brauchler back with you here, 710 KNUS in the studio with us.
No, I'm not crying about leaving.
Ellis Tubbs. Jenna Ellis, local girl, an attorney. I don't know if I think she was a prosecutor for a cup of coffee up in Weld County, and then somehow got hooked up with the Trump train. And my understanding of the story is, and I don't know that, my understanding is she was on TV talking up Trump, and he saw her and was like, I want her on my team.
Nobody cries like that, asks for forgiveness unless they're sorry that they were caught. I have zero empathy for Jenna Ellis. She got caught up in all of the lies, and she was spinning the lies. And then yesterday she says, well, if I had only had the experience and the knowledge of people that I looked up to. Look, Melting Face Giuliani, the Kraken, Eastman, all of that. Enough. Enough.
Well,
did I mention enough?
You did. But what does a sincere sobbing sound like if someone's truly remorseful?
You'll hear it on Friday, November 3rd when I say goodbye for the final time.
I said sincere, not lengthy.
I'm so done with all of this, George. I gave the Kraken and Giuliani and Eastman and Jenna Ellis, I gave them all. I dedicated a show to their unbelievable allegations after the November 2020 election. I remember playing chunks, 10, 12-minute chunks of that press conference and saying I was blown away. Like if even a scintilla is true, this changes everything. In my estimation, I remember saying on my show at the time, if these allegations of a stolen election were true, this is the biggest story in the history of the country, period.
Yeah.
None of it has proven to be true. Perpetuated on this radio station over and over and over and over. And for those of you that want to call me a rhino, call me that this afternoon. This is George's show, but
no, you can call him here. 303-696-1971.
Great.
Do it right now.
I look forward to your phone call. Look, if you are convinced that the election was stolen, where is the proof almost 3 years later? It's all BS. People got caught up in it. I'm so done with it. I am so done with it. And I say this as a 2-time Trump voter.
That's really equivocal. I'm not sure where you come down on this. It seems like you're on the fence. Very gray.
That's part of the great thing about talk radio is you learn very quickly. Don't sit on the fence because that's not good talk radio.
And it hurts, depending upon the make
splinters.
Of the fence. So I want to leave open room for genuine remorse and rehabilitation. And I at least appreciate that of the 4 or however many we've counted up so far that have pled guilty, she's the only one who has at least taken this approach, which is
maybe it's because she's 38.
It could be because she's 38 and she's younger. It could also be because she knows she's got a meeting with the Attorney Regulation Council in her future here in Colorado. And even though this isn't an automatic disbarment, that's where I'd be leaning.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If Jenna Ellis feels truly, genuinely the way she did yesterday in front of the judge, how long has she felt that way? When did she start to read the tea leaves going, wow, that lunatic Sydney, the Kraken, wow, melty face Giuliani, who, by the way, I used to be the biggest fan of. Absolutely.
He was America's mayor.
He was America's mayor. Amazing job performance after 9/11.
Of course.
What he did in New York City as a prosecutor, as the mayor.
Did a great job.
Could Jenna Ellis have said I'm getting the vibe here that this just isn't really right? Could she have said that a year ago? Well, if you believe her tears yesterday, the answer is yes. My question is, why didn't you speak up? Because you're afraid of this Trump machine and somebody coming after you, calling you a rhino, canceling you. This is the ultimate Republican MAGA crowd doing exactly what the Republican MAGA crowd has accused the left of accurately for years and years and years. The cancel culture, the Republican Party is just as guilty of try to be canceled. I'm actually speaking the truth, my truth, I guess. To me, there's only one truth. Peter Boyles came up with that. There is only but one piece of truth.
No,
it's not your truth or mine.
I like, though, that we've moved into an era where we can always be right because it's my truth. I mean, my
Right.
truth
Well,
may
that
be
is
at
my
odds
truth.
with reality, but it's my truth and it's your truth. And you can speak your truth and I can
Well,
speak my truth.
if the election was stolen in November 2020, where is the proof?
It's
Rock
been
solid
hidden, Steffan.
proof. Oh, it's been hidden.
It's hidden.
By the way,
The proof
What-
of the conspiracy is
how
we
happy-
can't prove the conspiracy.
how happy am I that I will no longer be a talk show host? And oh, hallelujah to those, MAGA crowds that I'm
Yeah.
the King Rhino on hate radio, that I don't have to go through the
queen.
bull bleep of
Yeah.
another presidential cycle. If Donald Trump will be the nominee.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Trump,
Yeah, for sure.
if he does not get elected again to the presidency, what's the next thing? Is that election next year going to be stolen? Is it already stolen?
Yes. I mean, honestly, I think that's baked into the outcome. He has set up a scenario where if he wins, we figured out a way to beat the election theft. If he doesn't win, it's just further proof that the election.
By the way, do I need to I don't think so, but maybe for those of you that never listen to this radio station after 10 a.m., only listening to you, dear George, let me tell you, I'm not a Trump hater. I voted for him twice.
Same.
One of the in areas, the greatest president, in some areas, the greatest president of my lifetime. I am not a Joe Biden fan. The guy is a clown. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has no concept of what he read last Thursday in that 15-minute address. He doesn't know what he's saying. He can, if they get him on enough meds, he can read the prompter, which he did, but he doesn't know what he's saying. This is a time for leadership in this country, and I hate everyone. I hate all of them. I hate all of them for what they've done to this country. And I understand if you want to expose corruption and stolen elections and lies, I understand that. Yes, let's expose it. Pull back the curtain. But you better have some even remote proof. And it is one of the things that I will not miss at all about this job and this profession. It's only going to get worse in 2024.
2024 is going to be interesting. Listen, along those lines, though, Kraken, Giuliani, that Steve Hall or whatever his name is.
Bannon?
No. The other guy from the Fulton County prosecutions by Fonnie Willis and Jenna Ellis. And then the other dude, what's his name? The other attorney guy, Billy would remember the name, but he's caught up in something right now. That other dude who was the attorney, they've all pleaded guilty, right? The only person, by the way, that has
why, George?
Well, I was going to ask you, but the only person, by the way, who's gotten a misdemeanor out of that is the Kraken, which makes you wonder if she isn't a pretty damn good attorney. She's the only one that's escaped the felony out of the whole thing. But having said that, what is, and I was asking listeners to think about this and call in and let me know, what does that mean? I mean, are these four people? I had a texter in here before that said that poor girl was coerced. She was scared. That's the sound of fear. She was forced to read that statement. And I'm like, forced by who? Like this is some sort of a hostage video or something?
Was she the fall girl for Donald Trump? It's George, good God, you're an excellent prosecutor. You know the law. This is all a clown show and a joke. And let me ask you this. You're my guest now.
Yeah.
Do you think if this election were stolen, there'd be just about enough time now as we come upon almost exactly 3 years since the election was stolen? Do you think that anything in 3 years would be presented that had even any teeth? Wouldn't that be logical?
It would. I think also we could not cover up a freaking break-in of the DNC in Watergate. I mean, you couldn't cover up something as small and insignificant
it's the
as
swamp.
that.
It's the deep state.
But you would think by now somebody, one disgruntled former member of the Klan would come forward and be like, let me tell you what we did. Let me tell you how we pulled this bad boy off. Not a single person.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Now, on the flip side of that, I'm not trying to waffle here.
No, keep waffling.
How about this? We don't have any videotaped evidence, any surveillance video of cocaine being found at the White House.
I don't believe that either.
However, neither do I. However, if you wanted a little bit of surveillance video from row 17 at the Buell Theater with a little lower in Bobert.
Such a great point. Point.
Interesting.
And
here, there's a friend of the program that I'm not probably ever going to have back. She doesn't return my texts anymore. I was a big Lauren Boebert fan because early on, because of the way she handled everything and speaking her mind. And if you like me, great. If you don't, screw you. I don't care. What an absolute clown Lauren Boebert has turned into. What an absolute clown Ken Buck has turned into. What an absolute clown the state GOP is clown show right now. I know he's your friend. I will never have Dave Williams on my program. That is a ridiculously run.
There's something going on there. And by the way, and Billy's, of course, I was going to say you can catch the grope, but you can't catch the dope. In terms of Dave Williams, Billy, do you know when we have D. Will back on? Or still trying to coordinate. I like that he comes on the radio and answers questions, and I got a bunch more for him too.
I hope that their fundraiser next month with Carrie Lake as their keynote speaker, I hope that goes over. I hope that raises at least $17.
I think it's going to do well, only because Carrie Lake for the grassroots is a bit of a rock star. Sounds like you're not going.
I don't think I would be invited.
The Lauren Boebert piece, if we're going to give any at
Hold my
all,
popcorn.
and if we're going to give any leeway at all to a 38-year-old Jenna Ellis, you'd have to extend the same to a 36-year-old.
Great point.
Yeah. But I don't know what happens in the election. I mean, I met with two people the other day, super insider political types who work all that third party stuff, and they each had a split decision on what they thought. One of them
I talked to those people. They're trying to get me to run.
One of them, and you should away. Right. And one of them was, yep, absolutely. She's not going to make it. And the other one was like, I don't think you can say that. You just can't see what 2024 looks like yet. And
do not see Lauren Boebert getting reelected.
She's going to win the primary. She's just got too much money and name ID.
It's going to be Adam Frisch.
That's horrible too. That's not good for Colorado.
No,
either.
it's not. It's not.
And for Ken, I've known Ken since, this goes way back. When Ken got elected DA in Weld County back in the 40s or whatever it was.
Wow.
I was a young piss and vinegar kind of prosecutor in Jeffco, and Ken and I actually met at the Cracker Barrel on the road up to Weld County.
Is that the one in Loveland?
Is it Loveland? Yeah, right off the highway.
Not
right
the one in Thornton.
No, my God, no, not Thornton. It was further north than that. And
Loveland.
And we discussed.
Did you get the mashed potatoes?
No, it was lemonade. And we discussed, is there a future with me working for Ken up in Weld County? And it just turned out it was too far away from the rest of the world at the time, Marsh's business and all that stuff. But I've known Ken that long. And then I got the ability to serve as an elected DA while he was an elected DA before he became the congressman for the 4th. So I've known Ken for a long, long time. Always been a principled guy with me, has always been a guy that has, especially in Congress, been as fiscally conservative a person as you're going to find in Congress. There's also this thing that takes place every election cycle, which is every election cycle, there's this rumor that Ken ain't running again. And so far, it's never, ever been true. This year feels like it's more true than others, but I don't know.
Somebody's going to primary him.
Someone's already going to primary.
Who is it?
There's some dude out of Weld County, Richard Holtorf, who's I think a representative, has also.
Well, he's got an
exploratory committee.
Holtorf, bovine fecal matter. He's in our upcoming documentary film, by the way.
Oh, is he really?
I'm a big fan of that, and I say this with love. That blowhard. I was up at his ranch for the filming.
Oh, that's cool.
I met Holtorf up there at the Buffalo. I think it's Buffalo Creek Ranch, Buffalo something.
I've never
met his wife and their 8,000 feral cats, dogs, chinchillas, horses. They got
chinchillas.
No chinchillas, actually. That was just. You got final break coming up.
I do, but let me ask you this, because I think anyone that listens to your show in the afternoon knows that your dentist is a murderer. If you are thinking,
wow, I didn't see this one coming. How about that?
If you were thinking, this is a perfect segue. If you were thinking about making a transition to dentists who are not only not murderers, but just great people, you might want to consider Doctors Richter and Snyder.
They were at Twin Aspen Dental.
I'm telling you,
they're still in business. My old Summerbrook Dental in Aurora, not so much.
Yeah, I think it was called Summer Death. Not Summerbrook,
was
it? Summer Death? It was horrible. Yeah, that's allegedly. A case, by the way.
Just you throw a word allegedly.
By the way, you're not done with the media stuff because you've got.
I'm writing a book.
Yeah, you've got some involvement in that.
I'm writing a book on the alleged purchasing dentist of cyanide and arsenic.
We are not obligated to say alleged. You're not the DA. I'm not the DA. We don't, and we're outside the courtroom. dude's a killer. I mean, there's just no doubt about it.
I have
Dude
never read,
is a
George,
killer.
I have never read in nearly 34 years, I have never read a more damning arrest affidavit than done by Detective Bobby Olson and the Aurora Police Department.
Wonderful job. But let's be honest, but for that sort of accidental discovery of the potassium cyanide stuff in that box, this dude could get away with
arsenic.
this.
Yeah. But for sending arsenic to your business, allegedly, he's innocent until proven guilty.
In the courtroom.
He probably gets away with it.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
Isn't that just crazy? And I've said this before. We don't catch the smart ones. What I meant to say was we don't catch the smart or the lucky ones. And this dude was just straight up unlucky. And, once you start pulling at that thread, anyway.
The last time I had eye contact with him, I've said this on my show. I may have told you.
At a club.
Last time I had eye contact with Dr. Jim Craig earlier this year in the courtroom.
Dude, he was in your mouth.
He gave me a root canal. Do your spot. I don't want to have 5 seconds left in your last break.
Okay, I just want to say that if you're thinking about finally going back to a dentist, and you should, the folks right out there at Twin Aspen Dental Center, I'm sold, man. I mean, I had a long-time dentist twice, 2 long-term dentists, each retired, got out of the business. These folks are the bomb. Shiloh, the rest of the crew, so nice. They're funny. The Shiloh, I think, is the one they designate for inappropriate people. So you would get Shiloh.
Stop.
But you should definitely look at Twin Aspen Dental Center. Doctors Richter and Snyder, fantastic at what they do. They make the whole process so pain-free, so stress-free, and you feel good about it after you leave. Check them out at twinaspendentalcenter.com or 303-841-7466. Call them, make that appointment. Just take a knee from your current dentist while their case is being resolved. 303-841-7466, Twin Aspen Dental Center. We'll come right back to finish it up. I'm going to give Steffan all 90 seconds. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.
Say goodbye to clutter and hello to convenience when you experience organization transformation in your home. Roll 'em Out Shelves, your clutter transformation experts, create affordable Colorado-crafted organized storage solutions. These custom options will maximize and organize your kitchen and bath storage as Roll 'em Out Shelves carefully designs and builds roll-out drawers to fit your space perfectly. To clear the clutter, contact owners Joyce and Brent at Roll 'em Out Shelves to schedule your free in-home estimate today. Say
George Brauchler, 710 KNUS. Final segment before I turn it over to Steffan to sing that song he promised to sing. Let me just tell you about this weekend.
Farewell.
It is the Tanner Gun Show. Friday, 3 to 7. Saturday, 9 to 5. Sunday, 10 to 4. Buy yourself a ticket at tannergunshow.com. So easy to spell Tanner with the 2 N's in it, tannergunshow.com. That ticket is good for all 3 days. Parking right out there in Arapahoe County, and it's unincorporated Arapahoe County. Lowest sales tax rate in the state. Free parking all the time. You just can't do better than that. If you don't know the Tanner Gun Show, then you don't know anything about the Second Amendment or guns, because these guys have been doing it. All those rare, hard-to-find parts and guns and all that, they have them there. Get on board. Be part of that. TannerGunshow.com. See you out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Steffan Tubbs, in the final 5 seconds that we have, please sum up your career. No, I'm kidding. You've got the calm, Manny. What do you want to say as you wrap up? At least our show. You've got a whole.
No, I want to say thank you to Bill and you for having me. And I hope that after November 3rd, you'll never have to say. And later on today, Steffan Tubbs has his 4.5-year goodbye. Now, you've been a good friend, George. You've been a good friend, and I appreciate that. I wish you the best, whatever is in your future. I did run into you actually applying for a job at the Chick-fil-A right down here on Parker.
Yeah, I was
very
actually
surprised.
picking up an order.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But you know what? It's been great, man. I think I look at the nearly 6 years that I've had at this station, and of all of the things that I've been blessed to be able to do, and the sleepless nights and the horrific stories and the championing people, trips to TJ. I mean, this has been really the best part of my career in many, many ways. And, you don't sit on the fence. You can have a take. I mean, somebody, just send in a text. I see, I got good riddance, and then they mock my name. I mean, if that's all you got, please call me this afternoon, starting at 4:05. But
somebody's put in a request for a double shirtless photo of George and Steffan.
We could do that.
A la Leroy and Steffan, which, as
you actually put on every monitor in
every
here.
Monitor in this room at one point had that picture on it. We should bring that back for your Friday show. And Leroy, except this time, pantless. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to actually.
You're
do
really
this.
sick.
Maybe in the 6 o'clock hour.
No shirtless, but I've got after today. Well, 8 shows as we speak this morning. Farewell tour. I've got actor Kevin Sorbo on
cool.
tonight at 6. Hercules.
Yeah.
He knows all about the cancel culture. Who else today? The IRS. The IRS will be here in studio.
Oh, really?
The SAC for the IRS investigations.
Why?
I'm just curious.
And they're willing to come in and say stuff? Washington, D.C. blessed off on that?
We'll see.
Huh, that's interesting.
But there's just so many people that over the last couple of months, like I said, that have the station has allowed me to have 2.5 months of still doing the news and still talking about topics of the day, but to be able to bring on guests and say thank you for, adding to not just my show, but to this radio station. And I love to push the envelope. I love to name names. I love to call people out. And there is one thing that I haven't said in the couple of hours that you've let me come in here is I've never taken this career for granted, ever. And I would bestow that upon you. It can be a bitch to get up in the morning and all of that, but we have such an awesome opportunity, and I've never taken it for granted. I've screwed up multiple times. I've choked on granola bars, called Snooki butt effing ugly and all of that. But at the end of the day, I can't imagine a better career.
I hate seeing people go. In many ways, this must be like watching Peyton Manning leave after they win the Super Bowl, and you're one of the rookies on the team, and you're like, man, that dude's been playing for so long. I don't even think I can be in the game that long. Look, folks, sometimes there is just good, easy, productive, meaningful radio. This was not that, but it was an opportunity.
We have tried. I love you, brother.
Steffan, I love you, man. I'll be listening to the show. I can't wait to hear what you're going to do next. I don't even know if you know yet, but when you do, please call us. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow. Steffan Tubbs again all day tomorrow. George Brauchler, 710 KNUS.